Actions as a result of non-public. The board accepted the resignation of Kim Bryant at the end of the school year. Let's see, two Makerspace stipend positions, Tammy Flanagan and Kate Stanley. Approved parent request, and did I miss anything else there? Did I miss anything?
There were two parent requests.
Two parent requests, yeah, that were approved.
I'll send you those.
MES staff presentation.
Which is really a student presentation.
MES student
Yes.
presentation.
So introducing Christy McDonald, our school counselor, and she has some friends with us.
Yes. Where would be the best place to have them?
Wherever you like.
Over by the.
Sure, yeah, that's not
Great.
probably better,
All right.
yeah, so that
So
they
what's
can.
good? Yeah. Just so you can see us all together.
There's no recording
Over.
consent problems, all that stuff is
No,
good.
that's been.
We don't need to
Then
put anything
table
up
sort
there,
of.
but
Perfect. So welcome, thank you for coming out tonight.
thank you. All right, so I'm Krista McDonald, the school counselor here, and we wanted to share about our experience with the DARE program this year with our 5th and 6th graders, learning it during our weekly success and guidance classes. Officer Llewellyn joined us twice a week for 10 weeks, dedicating her time and energy to this important work. So we are so lucky to have also our nurse Sarah Rodriguez, wave your hand over there, and our para-educator as well as a parent and community member, Heather O'Donnell, supporting us each week. So lots of different people that were engaged in this program. So our students truly looked forward to DARE classes and were disappointed when the 10 weeks came to an end. Am I right? Yes. I'm not making that up. That was their words. They demonstrated outstanding efforts as attentive learners, respectful citizens, and thoughtful participants in all of their discussions. Tonight we're excited to just share a glimpse into the DARE program and what a positive experience it has been for us all. So they learned so many different things, and I really don't think that I have to share the topics of what was covered because I'm pretty sure they're going to cover it all in what they're going to say. So I don't know, Miss Adama, do you want to share anything about the program, or do you want to do it before or after the kids? It's up to you.
I just wanted to say that I'm glad the program was brought back. I was in DARE class at Madison Elementary a long time ago. But anyway, and it was great. So it was just fun to be a part of it. They truly enjoyed the class. It's just good information for them to take with them on to middle school, and I don't know. So I'm just glad.
Yeah, thank you. All right, I'll start. You guys know how you want to share, so go ahead.
Thank you so much for teaching us about DARE, Officer Lou. I will always remember the DDMM, the DARE decision-making model for the future. Something that stuck out to me was how many people die out of either smoking, vaping, drugs, alcohol, and even secondhand smoke. I will definitely be keeping that in mind when I'm making good decisions. So thank you, Miss McDonald, Officer Llewellyn and Ms. Rodriguez for making this class a fun and active and educational experience.
Thank you. I probably should have introduced you guys. So we have Zach and Mia and Riley and Morgan and Georgie here, both from 5th and 6th graders here. All right, go ahead.
We have learned so much over the past 10 weeks. One topic that really stuck out to me was risky situations. This stuck out to me because risky situations could be bad or good. I also liked learning about stress and how to handle it. I like this because there are many ways to relieve stress and how to handle it. Most importantly, thank you for letting us participate in all of the lessons. We have learned so much. Thank you, Officer Llewellyn, Miss McDonald, Miss Rodriguez for teaching us these skills. We had so much fun.
Thank you so much to Officer Lou for all the hard work you put into this DARE program. We really appreciate her coming twice a week for 10 weeks and all the time, effort, and planning she dedicated to us. It means a lot that she worked with us and cared about both our present and our future. We really enjoyed being part of this experience. Something that stuck out to me was ways to manage stress and resistance strategies. These two stuck out to me because they're great ways to help us in stressful situations. We have learned so much about risky situations, consequences of our actions, and a lot more that if I say them all, I'd make you sit here and listen to me for an extra 20 minutes. Once again, thank you, Officer Llewellyn, Miss McDonald, and Nurse Rodriguez for all of this.
And then go ahead, Zach.
We asked our students in our classroom why it is important to learn about DARE and what their favorite parts about DARE were. This is what they said. It is important to learn about the side effects of drugs and alcohol so that when we are older, we can make good decisions. We liked acting out different scenarios, getting DARE swag, hanging out with Officer Lou. She made the classes fun. Learning about using the DDMM, DARE decision-making model. Playing games to learn about verbal and nonverbal communication. Learning about how to manage stress. The word search because it showed us how important teamwork is, and learning about the 5 W's when reporting bullying.
Here are some more comments from students about what they liked most about the DARE program and how what they learned will positively impact them in the future. I mostly like learning about the health effects of alcohol and tobacco use and what could happen if you do it. My least favorite part was that it was only 10 weeks. Many students wish that it was longer. One thing I learned that will positively impact my life is how one tiny thing like smoking could be so bad in a lot of different ways. Something I will remember from DARE that will positively impact my life in the future is all of the deaths that have been caused by drug and alcohol usage, and remind me to not use them in the future. A positive thing I learned from DARE is to speak confidently so people listen to me. What I liked most about DARE was learning how to deal with hard situations because it helps me feel ready for middle school.
Thank you once again. Thank you, Officer Lou, Miss McDonald, and Miss Rodriguez.
Thank you, school board, for letting us be here to share our experience from DARE.
So the students, in addition to learning all of that, as part of the program, they completed a final project highlighting a topic from DARE that was meaningful to them. They were given the freedom to express their learning creatively. Some students designed posters, others created slideshows with information or animation. Some developed comics, and then we even had one group that created a whole board game with all of the different questions from DARE. So I'm hoping we can use that for the future too. I just want to say thank you to everybody that made this possible. Heather for helping us bring this in, Officer Llewellyn, Ms. Rodriguez, everybody else that was a part of this. It was really great to see the kids being engaged in their learning. I know that they're going to take this with them, which was such a great experience. And thank you for allowing us to share all of this with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Now, that was also a lift from the town as well, was it?
True. So Chief Hayford, who previously was a DARE officer for us years ago, did write a grant so that Officer Llewellyn could be trained and do that. And so, yes, so without his support in making it happen,
Right.
yeah, that was
So I
Great
think a
partnership.
huge support, thank you to the town and to the police department, because I knew it's not something they can just do, they have to get trained on it as well.
I wonder if the school board has any questions for the kids about, they've just presented to you, and I'm wondering if any of you have any questions
I do
for
have
them.
one.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
I think that would be really nice.
When you guys lined up there, was that on purpose that you're in order by height, or no? Was that just by accident?
Just by accident.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say you did a great job
Yeah.
presenting, and your writing was really good.
That was all for
Thank
them. Yep. Their own writing.
Nice.
Appreciate it, and it's not always easy to come out and talk in front of a group of people, so you've done a great job, so thank you. And take what you learned and use it, carry it.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night, thank you.
Thank you, bye.
This is our public comment section. Yes.
Hi, I'm Catherine Meek. If I haven't already met you, I have 3 children here at this school. I had a concern about the school calendar for next year. I know it's already been approved, it's a done deal. I see that we are in fact having school on election days. I'm just curious how we reached that decision. Also, the fact that the New Hampshire primary falls on the first day of school. That's a bit of a concern for me. And I'm curious how we came to that conclusion and if there were alternatives.
Mike, do you want to talk to that?
Sure. So when we develop the school calendar, we try to take into account some of those events that you're referring to, like elections and the primary. I believe that we have, we're out of school for the town. We made a conscious effort to do that. The one, because Labor Day is so late this year, and the primary being, it's not the most ideal way to start school, certainly. But we certainly do take into account making sure that there's a secure environment, that we've partitioned off that section of the school. If there is usually a large election that becomes politically maybe divisive or heated, we certainly look at that as a shifting to not having school. When we develop the calendar, what I do is I look at the state produces a school calendar that issues that out. I also crosswalk that with Kennett's calendar because that's our primarily our receiving school district. We do have a couple others that we send students to, and then look to get that approved at each of the 3 school district meetings. And we do have some conversation. There's no such thing as a perfect school calendar,
Right.
but that's the process that we go
Okay,
through.
I appreciate you explaining that to me. Is parent input ever sought or considered, just for things like this
Sure,
in particular?
sure.
Just because it's a security concern for me, and
Yeah.
I don't know, I may be the odd one out here, but other people may have that concern.
Yeah, no, I think it's a balance. I think there's some community members that really like the opportunity to see that engagement in civics, depending on your developmental level. Maybe for 6th grade, it's a really good opportunity to go in and see how that's done. And then maybe at other levels that there's going to be people in the school who usually aren't here. It's a disruption of the routine. So I think that goes both ways. But I certainly would encourage this type of feedback that the board's receiving, that I'm receiving, so we can help make those decisions. I usually try to block out, as I said, block out some of those days for elections, and I think we've kind of reached somewhat of a balance this year compared to in years past. But no, having that feedback that that's what the community is valuing, and hearing all those perspectives is really important and help shape the calendar. I do solicit input from the unions, from our teachers. They don't always get everything they want,
Right.
but I do listen. So I would do the same with our parents and community.
Okay, thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Others? Yes.
No, I just had a question, because I didn't see it on the agenda regarding contract negotiations with Conway. See a lot in the paper, but we
So
haven't.
I'll briefly, contract negotiations are non-public. So we are currently negotiating
Okay,
But
so
that-
it's
but-
ongoing, even though,
It is ongoing. It is an ongoing item, yes.
okay.
And if we get to resolve or impasse or whatever,
Yeah,
that will then become public.
so part of your negotiations, is because we have middle schoolers that are going, so it's the middle school and the high school, correct? Two different, okay. Is there any talk, because the Conway, sends their sixth graders, is there any discussion about sending Madison sixth graders or Freedom? I know Tamworth wouldn't be doing that, but is there any discussion on that? Have parents expressed, have staff, or, I mean, I'm just wondering if that's part of your negotiations.
Thoughts? We haven't really.
No, I mean, just personally, I think we're trying to do more at the SAU level right now with figuring out what that all looks like versus going right to, at least that's where.
I might add that, Nan, to try to answer your question, that really what we're focusing right now is high school negotiations.
Okay.
And that's really the board's primary focus. I think that you're absolutely spot on that is an element that needs to get addressed. But the Conway board and the Madison board and all our other boards have been focused solely on high school
Okay.
at this moment in time.
And our plan is to, as soon as we've reached a point, to have a open forum where we will explain what we as negotiators to the board are recommending, and then have a whole forum where parents, staff, community members can ask questions, so that we can make a basically a final decision to bring to the voters for next year.
Right. See, I guess Freedom, if you go to Freedom's website, Freedom Elementary School, and they talk about who they've been talking to, like the schools in Maine, Governor Wentworth. And so it just sounds like, so is there non-public? Non-public, you're talking with Conway, correct?
Discussions of negotiation are inherently non-public.
Okay.
So the discussions are non-public. We have, I'm okay to say it, we have been in talks with Governor Wentworth as well.
Other schools,
Yes.
okay, yeah.
Yep,
I mean, they put it right out there on their web.
yes, I mean, we just,
It's kind of confusing when you're trying to get information and they're,
so we have met with both
okay.
districts at this point in time.
But and I think they're kind of on a different schedule than we are, right? With already having made like some of their decisions and stuff like that versus us.
I know, but we all have to make a decision.
Right,
by
right. But we're
next-
not there. We're not
Right.
there yet.
Okay.
Some of the information that Freedom has there is somewhat dated because we've all had some ebb and flows in this conversation during negotiations, and things might have stalled out in some districts for various reasons, and reconfigurations have happened in Conway. So some of that information is from prior listening sessions, which the Madison board has meant they're going to have a more updated version of that. I think there's pros and cons of doing a listening session very early on versus later in the process. So that information will be forthcoming.
If I were a parent, I'd be a little concerned, that's all.
And we're trying to make sure that we take every perspective of
Right.
students
Okay.
into account when we're doing this.
Oh, and just one more question. How many kindergarten students did we register? I don't know. If that's gonna come up somewhere.
Probably
This
in
board meeting.
Heather, is that in your packet,
It is not.
It is not.
You said last time it was 10.
It's more than that. I can
If you could,
tell you when we get to my report.
okay, if you can look it up by then, that'd be great. Any other?
No, I'm good.
I have in going through the packet, I noticed that there is your, I don't know if it's an updated policy regarding public comments and how you're gonna conduct meetings. There's a section in here, forgive me if I have to look for it again, but there's a section in here that basically says that you'll do all this portion of it, the audience discussion, so to speak, during public comments, and that if there's a need for it at the end, you could open it to do it again. The concern I have with that is there's a lot of there's a lot of opinions, there's a lot of information sometimes that come from the people in the audience, whether they're other educators, other committee members from other committees in the town. And by relegating all of our comments to one time during the public comment section, when we don't know what we don't know when we don't know it, because it doesn't come up until much later in the meeting, how will you know that we would like to discuss something? And how will you avoid taking a vote on something when there's still comment and input that should be given to you that now isn't because we're not during the public comment section?
So
And I get that this
it's
makes
not
me
it's not a new policy. It's just basically the same policy's been added to the board packets, and we used to do 15 minutes at the beginning and 15 minutes at the end. Well, 15 minutes at the end, you've now passed over something that maybe you had a comment on. So if people give all of their comments up front, and let's say you want to talk about our fund balance.
That's next on the list.
Figure we're there. I knew it was coming. You want to talk about our fund balance, now's the time to bring it up. Bring up your comments or your questions related to it, because then we can make sure that we hit on it when we get to that. And if we haven't, maybe we'll ask a follow-up question. But it's really getting the comments out, because when we go back and forth, I mean, the meeting is a board meeting. It's a public board meeting, but it's not a meeting for the board with the public. So it's really trying to make sure that we've been, I'll say I've been maybe too liberal over the last few years of allowing a lot more conversation. As we get into budget season, it's a little different with the budget committee when we're talking strictly about the budget. But what happens is it tends to linger along and just end up in places that we never started at. So it's, if you want something on the agenda, it's just request it prior to the meeting, 14 days I think is the, and then we'll actually have that and you'll be part of that discussion on the agenda. But it's having the public comment here so that people can make their comments and we can say, we're going to get to that. And if when we talk about that, we don't touch on it, I'll ask a follow-up question. But it's really easier to try to have all the comments in the beginning. We can take our notes and try to answer your questions as we get through there.
Noted.
Thank you.
She asked about kindergarten registration. I looked at the PowerPoint presentation regarding letters, and somewhere from last month's meeting where they talked about the literacy, that thing. And somewhere in the discussion of that, I think there was a comment that the scores had increased, which I saw, but that some of the scores were based on an SAU, I don't want to call it a directive, it was some SAU baseline, guideline, whatever it was, and there's no mention about where that guideline came from or what it means or what what is that guideline based on? Is it a directive from the state? So saying that the scores increased is kind of a subjective.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I know what you're saying. So when we were looking at our cut scores for assessment, we wanted to make sure we were looking at the correct rigor of the state. So if you look at when we look at certain nationally normed assessments, they're assessed on the entire country. And I'm not going to say anything derogatory about other states, but let me just say that New Hampshire has a very high amount of rigor and achievement on a whole. So what we did is, instead of looking at how we're comparing to the country, we looked at how we're comparing in New Hampshire. So that's what that's referring to. Looking at a different set of cut scores.
Okay.
Which is
Should
more.
we not be looking at both?
I'd rather look at what my neighbors in my state are doing and compare myself to my states, which is more rigorous than, again, I'm not going to name any other states that may not be, but I think that shows the expectation and what we're trying to achieve, especially when we're comparing other things like cost per pupil, other things that are apples to apples in the state of New Hampshire, because the state funding model in other states is completely different. So I think that's a good place to be, and has a high level of expectation. And the other corollary is that it's also more in line with our state assessment, our SAS. So looking at those scores, for example, if we look at a nationally normed assessment and say, hey, our kids are up here, then when we drop our cut score so it's more in line with our New Hampshire standards, they might be down here, and that's more likely to be a parallel in our state assessment. So when that state assessment comes in, we're not surprised. We have a good predictor going all the way up to our end of the year assessment.
Okay. And it's not a place to, for debate about it.
If you want more information, email Mike, and we'll get.
Sure.
Get
I mean,
some-
I'd rather look at the scores that are more in line with what's going to be happening and
Right.
what the future is holding based on our assessment, and having a more rigorous expectation for our students.
And I don't disagree with that, but I don't think that we should be so narrowly focused as to discount all of the other information and all of the other data and not look at some of those others. And maybe you don't look at the entire country, maybe you pick out those most rigorous states, since, you know, and hopefully we're one of them, but you pick out those most rigorous states and figure out where we stack up against that and their scores and what they're doing, as opposed to just internally focused on our own state. I think I think it discounts some other factors and other socioeconomic considerations and all that other kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I think there's a matter of practicality in that as well, because when we're setting those benchmark scores, to pick all these other state I mean, I think there becomes a point of diminished returns when we're trying to we know where our expectation is, we want it to go. Here it is.
Okay.
But, point taken.
The equivalent of noted.
Any other comments?
Well, and we'll get to the unexpended fund balance. There was a note in the in the meeting minutes from last time that the principal has stepped away from the master plan committee. Can I ask why?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, I don't know if you watched the video or not, just because she felt that she's the principal of the elementary school here. She's not a resident of the town of Madison, and felt that it would be better served by a resident of the town of Madison.
So I didn't.
There is a school board representative to that
Now
committee.
Be named Deb. Okay. There was one more thing. Oh, a couple things. I think you and I talked about this. The member to the ABC. I know that the school board has potentially decided that they might not be of great value to have a school board member. Unfortunately, the policy in town says that the advisory budget committee must have a school board member, or it has a school board member, and in order to change that, we would have to go to town meeting and to change that, so that's not until next March. So in the meantime, I do require that there be a school board member, and if you haven't made the decision, I'd ask Mr. Curran if you would step up and come to those meetings in the interim until one of the other members decides to be.
We will have that tonight, and we'll talk about it.
Okay, and then also there's a discussion about a budget process and timeline, and a schedule that was potentially created, a draft schedule for meetings. Can I get a copy of that so I can?
Should be in that board packet there.
I haven't had a chance to go through all of this, and I didn't necessarily see it. If you can tell me what page it's on, I appreciate that. And that way,
Page 35.
I'll go back, I'll compare it to.
30, and it was also in last month's packet as well.
Well, unfortunately, I wasn't too. Okay, so, was this, I would ask that when you guys do something like this, can you send a copy to the ABC and say, hey, communication, one of the things that we talked about is communication. It would go a long way to help with that communication if it were two-way street, so that as you develop, if this was in last month's meeting packet, having a courtesy copy of it sent to us so that when we had our budget meeting, I could bring it up and discuss if these dates meet or, conflict with anything that we're already doing or anything that we had tried to do. It would go a long way to solve that earlier rather than later.
Perfect. We'll make sure you get a copy.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I think that's all I have for the moment.
You sure? This is public comment time.
I'm not sure because
This is public comment time.
I know. I don't know what I don't know when I don't know it, Jim.
Okay.
So I
You
can't.
said something
You said
about
something
ending
about
your balance.
end of year fund
Yeah,
balance.
you're gonna talk about it. You were.
We are gonna, yeah,
All right,
okay.
so-
won't let you talk about it.
I know. So
Noted.
I don't know what I don't know.
Okay,
I have the 886, but is that, how close to final is that?
it's never
Not-
close to final until we get into July.
Okay. But I would presume that you have everything that you expect. Everything that you expect, not you personally. everything that the school
Anticipated
expects. Right, all the
expenditures.
anticipated expenses, so this should be, unless there's something out of the blue, this should be fairly close to what that balance will look like.
I try really hard not to say that because
I know it's.
many years ago, we were told we were gonna have a deficit fund balance of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I said, it's not gonna happen, and it didn't happen. So, there are always moving parts. We could get a bill from Conway for a special ed student that we weren't anticipating, that's $70,000, which is a
Again,
big shift.
Barring unforeseen circumstances.
And Heather
this
will
is
talk about the whole
pretty
thing of it
close
tonight,
to-
yes.
To what. they
What
can
is
expect.
anticipated, correct?
And will, just on that same line, will we name, I mean, can you give a figure to the audience, to the cameras, or?
Yeah, we'll give a figure.
Okay.
Oh,
It's in the packets as well.
yeah, it is.
I know, but not
886.
everybody
Okay.
goes to the pack.
Then I'm happy to read that number out loud.
You know, and I appreciate that it's significant, and that was well noted. But
And
what
we'll
do you
explain
mean by
why.
significant? Oh, I'm sure. You did last time too, that was fine.
Yeah,
Sorry, two more things.
that's all right.
Again, in your meeting minutes, reading through the meeting minutes from the last meeting, it does talk about that there is I call it unexpended fund balance, you guys actually call it something else.
Undesignated fund balance.
Thank you. But it doesn't say how much it is. So for anyone reading the minutes, they have no idea what that draft number is. They have to go look. Can we not make it that hard on people? Can we put the number in the meeting minutes? I mean, it is a draft number, everybody knows that, and you can say that in the meeting minutes, but that way it's there and it's noted. So as you're going through this and you pull up meeting minutes from one month to another kind of deal, then you can see the change to it.
It would have been in there if it was said. I did not hear the number said.
So,
Okay.
You may not have said it out loud.
yeah,
I will say it tonight.
Say it. I was gonna say, no, say it out loud.
Okay.
No, I forgot the second one. Oh, and on your, sorry, I'm a numbers person, so, on your district enrollment, can you do me a favor, please? Could you put totals on the student, on the side? And nowhere on here does it say the total number of Madison School District children. It shows, you know, how many are in each school, Madison Elementary, Tennant Middle, but it doesn't show that if you add all these up, you get to 270 students.
that's a formula.
And also then on the bottom underneath homeschool, a total for each grade. Counting homeschools, so, sorry, it's two totals. Just to help compare,
Fair enough.
thank you.
We like when the audience does math.
I'm sorry?
We like when the audience does math.
It's a lesson. Any
You're
others?
welcome.
Any others?
Are you referring to the charter or
No.
homeschool?
No, I'm referring to all of them.
All the way across.
All
No,
the way
I'm saying that,
across.
but you mentioned the homeschool number.
Yeah, the homeschool is 22.
Right.
Right, and so if you add up all the students that are currently in schools,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that comes to 248. Then you add the 22 for homeschools, it brings a total of
Madison
Madison
students.
School District enrollees to 270. But nowhere on the paper does it say that we have 270 enrollees. Right? And also nowhere on the paper does it say we have 9, 10 pre-K, we have 12, 13 kindergartners, you know, so a row on the bottom underneath homeschool. That's where the homeschool came in. Underneath homeschool, that totals up each one of those
Oh, by
grades.
grade.
So that you can see, we have, you know, I mean, it should be a simple formula add.
That's
If this
fine. I
is
just
in-
want to make sure I was clear.
Yeah, if this is in Excel, I don't know if it is or not, so.
Looks like it.
Could be a Word document.
Any others? Moving on up. Approval of the agenda. Take a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Ed, second by Jeremy. Any discussion, additions or deletions?
I was just hoping to talk about playground stuff under the
Building
after
and
the
grounds?
committee updates. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we could probably add that, building and ground, playground. Anything else?
Over here. Under new school board business, general assurances for grants.
I'm sorry, could you say that louder?
General assurances for grants.
General assurances for grants.
Under building and grounds, I talked with Jeremy, but I think we might have a bee problem out back. And I know that,
Be in the bonnet?
yeah, and I know that one of the kids are allergic, so.
Okay.
A lot more than one.
Two are allergic.
I've been stung here. Okay, so I have a few additions, and then, actually under board business, we should do, budget committee. Representative.
Oh, sorry, what section?
Budget committee, new business is fine. Did you have another?
I just don't know what to say or what to do about the thing I want to talk about.
So where would you like it?
Well, we received an email from the superintendent about a situation.
Building use. Put it under that?
Sure.
Does that work? I
That
think I know
works.
where you're going.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be great.
So let's go under new business, building use. Alrighty. Motion, a second, couple additions, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Carries. Approval of the minutes of the April 6th meeting. I will take a motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Jeremy, second by Ed. Any additions, deletions, corrections?
Can I just ask one more question? I know I'm belaboring this whole minutes thing, but I want to make sure I'm doing. I don't read the board packet until I get a physical copy, just because I read better that way. So when we get the minutes ahead of time, I don't really, I superficially read them, but I do my in-depth reading when I get the packet, which is not, I mean, this time around was Thursday.
Yeah.
Is it still okay, even though it's not gonna be in the board packet, if I find typos to just send them
Can
to
you
you?
just send them to me?
Absolutely.
If it's
And-
a comma or if it's
If
having
it-
an A.
But
or
is it
something.
okay if like, even if I did it tonight?
That is a question for him, but if you could send me them would be helpful.
Okay.
I would
just-
say as long as it's,
As long as it doesn't change the
as long as
context.
it's, right, changes the
Okay.
context.
I don't
of-
wanna take any like time up here,
Yeah.
but I felt like I needed to do it before, but if I found some, I could still do it.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, those, because those are just mere typographicals, we'll call it.
right,
Yeah.
Not-
Anything
nothing
that's
that would change
context-
substance, no.
contextual, right,
yeah, okay,
yes.
great.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor? Aye. Carries. Non-public minutes of April 6th. Take a motion to approve. Jeremy, second by Sherry. Any other discussion there? Seeing none, all in favor?
Oh, wait, I did have a
Yep,
question.
go ahead.
And this is substantive, so it's at the end. It's the motion to approve the nominations for stipend position line 75 to 80.
75 to 80.
So it says, motion to approve nominations for stipend position, Holly Crockett as rec director liaison, and Lisa Curran as substitute coordinator by Jeremy Cox.
Right,
I
we
understand
ta-
why
we-
you abstained, but then I was confused as, I didn't
Yeah,
know
but-
if
but
Ed
no.
abstained.
I
No,
abstained.
actually, back up.
I did abstain from this.
Okay,
So, he did, but I thought we pulled this off and tabled this, Mike.
that's what I thought
We,
too.
yes, we pulled this off.
Because you said we didn't have to approve it right
we
then.
didn't have to approve it right now,
But
and
that
there,
was
and
not non-public.
I think so.
it was,
If it was an
Yeah.
executive session after I left.
It was
This
in-
is-
right.
These are my minutes from non-public,
That-
so
so-
this is, that was taken then, so.
okay,
Before
that
you
was
left.
before we went into executive session, so yes. So yes, I think we need to strike,
No. You're gonna have to then, if you rescinded, there should be a
Minutes.
motion to rescind that, cause
And
you
we
voted.
did, yeah, and we did do a motion
We
to
did that.
rescind it.
do you have those, Mike?
They're on my computer.
So can you, like, table these, the approval of these, and that can get fixed?
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
presumably.
I think so, because, yes, because, right, these are the minutes that you were taking,
These are
then,
what I have, I don't have anything from,
then Mike took minutes after
Right.
that, and which is where we made a decision change on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's substantive, yes. Okay, so,
So we're tabling the approval of
the
this
non-public minutes, because I think the executive session minutes should be attached with that.
Do we have to make a motion for that? Or,
I will take, who made the motion to approve those?
Jeremy Cox and Ed Robinson.
Can I take a motion to rescind that?
I'll make a motion to rescind that, or I'll rescind.
Jeremy
Yes.
and Ed? Okay, so they'll come off. We'll bring these back next month.
Do we have to motion to table it till next month?
I don't think you need a motion.
No,
to
we
table.
don't have to, they're not approved yet.
Just, it's gotta be on the agenda.
Correct. Thank you.
Mhm.
Acceptance of consent agenda, you have the public comment, board meeting policy, principals report, enrollment report, middle school, high school, your revenues report, your expenditures report, capital reserve fund balances, capital improvement plan, budget timeline. I will take a motion to approve. Motion by Deb, a second. By Jeremy. Heather, while we're here, do you have that updated number for kindergarten registration?
we anticipate 12 at this point.
12 at this point. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion related to the consent agenda?
Yeah, I got a couple things.
Sure.
So there's kids awards that are done at the middle school. Brought this up last meeting and got the information from the middle school. And there's been, each quarter they're recognized for kindness, integrity, determination, and spirit. So they're awarded to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, as well as there's an overall winner. So first quarter, Lucas Bowie got one for integrity, Tabby Johnson for integrity, Adam Shackford is all around 7th grade, Peyton Groden all around 7th grade. Quarter two, Zoe Robinson got one for integrity, Avery Owen all around 7th grade, Jacoby Stanley for integrity, Ella Fox for all around 7th grade. This previous quarter, Matthew Hager got one all around 8th grade, and Jonna Simony for spirit. So
Nice.
Matt's and kids are getting recognized at the middle school for
doing good things.
Doing good things. And then I just had a question, Heather, about the revenue stuff. Is there a reason it's in blue on the revenue?
There is. And I will get to it in the fund balance.
Okay. And then on page 3, the expenditures. When we do budgeting next year, I know that you talked before about the, it's page 25.
Yeah.
About the special ed stuff being kind of broken up. Will it all be in its own categories next year?
I'm
Instead
gonna
of
try
kind of
really
being
hard to
both?
have one account there in all of those categories that I really need. Subcategories should just roll up into one account.
Cause it's just like,
It looks like a lot of negative numbers and it is, but
it's
there's
really,
funds for it.
right, okay.
You've just broken them out into,
Like individual.
How I
Specific
report 'em on
items.
the DOE 25.
got it. So we'll more roll up the number on the
Yeah, I
budget.
just more for budgeting.
That looks like it
going
raised a
forward.
question.
I just don't understand.
So,
It's more accounting than anything.
so, right, each of those lines are something, so like 1210, 323, 107 might be specific to one item.
That's PT or OT we provide to a charter school student. So our budget, our sped budget isn't just our students here at the elementary school, it is
Right.
any student in a public charter school.
Okay, so instead of 400,000, it might be 20,000 for that specific line.
out of district OTPT. This breaks it down to the charter schools, to the high schools, to the middle schools.
I'm a finance person, you're an English person?
Well, I'm a numbers person too, but I did have all those negatives highlighted in that section, and was
why
wondering why.
It brought it to my attention too. It seemed like we were
Right.
double counting.
The flip
or it
side, I'm
wasn't.
not just not the only one that uses this. So unlike the title grants where you have to write an activity and get it approved in advance, IDEA funding can be done after the fact. So once we've proven that we've met our burden for our maintenance of effort and our excess costs, so that we've spent enough on all of our students equally, so we've spent as much on our special ed students as we have on our general ed students, then we can leverage IDEA funds and we can go back and we can move things out of here, take them out of our general fund expenditures, move them into grant fund expenditures and get reimbursed for the grant. So that helps set it up as we start tracking things and looking for programs, because we're now at the point where we have to budget with the state. We have some ability to change it, but due July 1st, preferably June 1st, our budget for next year for IDEA grant funds and where we're going to spend it. That's hard. So this is just an attempt to help us zero in where does our money go without having to dig through different vendor reports, which is what we did year one, 3 years ago. So. But it is a lot of information that you guys certainly don't need, and I will attempt to, I don't want to say bury it, but put it in a high-level account that then we can drill in if you have questions.
I just want to make sure that when we get to budgets, that we have the right money in the right places, line-wise.
Because it looks like we didn't budget for it.
Right.
And we're spending it.
Right, or if one category goes away and we need to.
Historically, that was kind of all lumped into out-of-district tuition, and it's not tuition, all of it. A lot of it is contracted services.
Okay, thank you.
Well, that raises another issue though. If you were to just categorize it all, like 1210 is special ed money, right?
Mhm.
So if you were to just do one, are you talking like one line for 1210?
No,
Or,
one line for like 323, that object, the third set of numbers.
Okay.
And then one line for 324, so I'd,
oh, I got you.
speech services, PTOT, it wouldn't be broken out by the
Okay.
type of school.
All right, I got you. Thank you.
Good. Anything else in the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed or carries. All right, Memorial Day holiday, 5/25, no school. SAU 9/13 joint board meeting is the 28th of May at 6 p.m. That is at the Conway Professional Development Center. Our next regular school board meeting is June 1st. Madison Elementary School graduation is the 17th at 6 p.m. And SU 13 joint board meeting is the 22nd of June at 5 p.m. here at the elementary school in the James Noyes Memorial Hall. Heather Woodard.
Currently, not a lot of open positions. We have our part-time building and ground supervisor position that's open. That was replacing Mr. Arcart, who is retiring. And we have the special ed case manager position with Mrs. Bryant's resignation. And then I'm gonna skip the scholarships first. Scholarships, the PTO sponsors 2 scholarships, and we have the Nancy Spalding Scholarship has a lot of applicants for it, which is pretty impressive, and it's gonna be a very difficult decision for that committee. The MES Arts application scholarship has 3, and the Granville, there were not any applicants again this year. So I did reach out and specifically ask that. So I don't know if the board at some point wants to go back and look at what your criteria is to see. I think you have around 10,000 in that account, if I remember seeing right.
Yep, that's it.
So just throwing it out there, if it's something you want to revisit at some point before next year, to make it maybe a little bit broader, so you might get some applications, but I did specifically ask,
Yeah.
and there were none for the Granville Scholarship.
Can you bring the Granville Scholarship back to us next month and maybe some thoughts, if anybody has any thoughts or concerns.
Are you looking for the?
How we have it
qualifications?
written, yeah.
What's the protocol?
I know it's very aeronautics.
It was
um,
pretty specific.
You have to do,
Yeah, we did it last.
we did,
last
but
year.
we've still got no applicants, so maybe it's try to find a way to find something that,
I mean, I looked at those applications, you have some great kids doing some great stuff. And not being able to access that fund is a little bit, you know, if you
Right.
saw that, you'd be like, oh, maybe they, so I think it's just trying to understand like what are kids going into for careers and does that line up
Could we
with
just
what your
open it up
hopes
to
are?
everyone and review the general application? Because can it basically just take a general
So
application as well?
this year got weird. They lost their Go Mary, which was their provider for their scholarship, all the applications, and it just suddenly like we had like a 3-day window of like, hey, this is gonna end. So like kids had to get their stuff in, and then Kennett had to pull everything off. So then they went to like we have a lot of handwritten ones applications. So I'm not sure what that will look like for next year. What they didn't have. I don't think they had any time to plan. So it was kind of a reactive mode. But
yeah.
in the past, that Go Mary was more of a general application, and then you just checked off which ones you were applying for. So just things to consider.
I remember
That's all.
the days of my daughter running around with a big binder, like, I'm not applying for this one. So, yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I'd like to open it up. And I think, bring it back, I've got to read the whole thing again, I think we all do, but I think we aimed towards the aeronauticals just because that was Ed Granville's thing, and maybe it's try to find something else that might be in some relation.
And if you did like a STEM thing, it would
Right.
Just
encompass
thinking
a
that
lot
popped
of
in my head, yeah.
different
We
things.
definitely have people going into engineering and stuff. It's just not necessarily
Aeronautical engineering.
So.
Yeah, so please bring that back, and we'll go there, and then if we have to work on it for a little while to get it dialed in, I'm happy to do that too.
And then the other one is just it says ESEA funding. So we need to periodically talk about it at school board meetings. That is the Title I, Title II, and Title IV-A grant funding that we receive. You're gonna talk about the general assurances later tonight. We are using our funds for a variety of things. So tonight you approved this 2 STEM teachers. So we're looking at doing a makerspace. If we can find success in that, then we would look to use our Title IV funding next year to expand that, to build it into a bigger program, whether that's something we can, I would like to see it available during the school day for kids to be able to access and teachers to be able to access with their students. But that's one avenue. We do, as Heather said, with the consolidated application, we have to plan ahead now over a year. Advancing Title II and Title IV are 2-year grants, at least currently, not that things may not change. So that's really hard to plan that far in advance for those. So we try to write them broadly enough to do that. We do summer tutoring, we do before and after school tutoring throughout the year, we do kindergarten practice days. We've purchased curriculum for teachers to use for instruction. We've purchased leveled readers, decoders, any other professional development for staff. Currently, our leaders, administrators are doing a PLC, and we've used it before to do for our leadership team.
We've
So-
leveraged it for homeless transportation.
Yep, and we're definitely, Title I, we're using it a lot to pay for our before and after school program due to students that are identified as homeless. So, or in transition. So we have, I think, 7 right now on our roster, which is high because any other year we might have 1 or none. So this year is significant.
That's huge.
So, and then if there's anything, because part of the ESCA grants is to get stakeholder input, so we talk at PTO meetings, we talk with staff, we do surveys, but also the school board is another one that if you have anything that you would like us to be looking into or targeting or focusing, then we take that as feedback. It's not a decision by you, so to speak, but it's feedback that goes back to what we call our stakeholder team, and then we just take that in review and we have to compare it with our data. So.
Helps set
Did
the
I
priorities.
sum that up? Good.
You did. Helps set the priorities, which then turns into the budget that we do for next year.
Because we have to prove a need. It has to be, you can say, well, I want, a skyscraper. Well, that's great that you want it, but if there's not a need for it, then we can't justify that,
We
and
need
it won't be
money.
approved.
So when do we give that feedback or make suggestions?
We'll take it anytime. Anytime. All year long.
I have one right off the top of my head, and I know we're gonna
Let it out.
We're getting into some of the data that we have. I know later on, but math looks like a real need right now, and so I'm wondering if you've given any thought to taking some of the title money, where we have a reading specialist whose focus is mainly in that area, and I know we have an RTI person, but I think we need a math specialist, someone who's just focusing on math and how to improve our instruction in that area based on the data that we were given. That would be something that I would be interested in.
And math and science are our priorities for next year. We have implemented the illustrative math, we've taken it through the pilot cycle, our implementation cycle. So now we're at that stage of we're looking at it and seeing what we're doing with that. And then science is something that hasn't been touched in years, and so those are 2 priorities for us. So yes, it's a completely appropriate suggestion.
Perfect. Any other questions for Heather? All right, moving on. Building and grounds.
So we had a meeting today. Jeremy.
Sorry.
Wow, I saw that smirk going right through him.
Was that what I saw outside when I was pulling it?
No, it's just every time we have a buildings and grounds committee, we learn something about the buildings and grounds. Every
That's
time.
great.
Every time. So we met with Heather, met with Mrs. Stanley and Heather. Talked about the fire truck, potentially the ADA accessible, as well with the playground committee, which I didn't even know we had a playground committee, but we do. They are going to look at an updated draft because they expressed some concerns about potentially removing the 4-square court. They'd like to keep that, so that's gonna
That creates the best fights out here.
I'm not just. Again, I was just taking the note. So they're gonna get some updated numbers about what it would look to be as an ADA compliant to replace the fire truck in that area. Mike, actually, I had a question for you.
Sure.
With numbers and special services, if we don't have a student that requires an ADA accessible piece of equipment at this point, would a certain number of, say, PT or OT help us get a grant to match that?
Depends
If
on
we
the
didn't have
depends on the parameters of the grant.
I did talk to Amy Mahoney, but that's what I'm gonna do after.
Yeah, well, I think we could probably loop it right in here as well, probably.
I talked to Amy Mahoney, who does a lot with the Laura Foundation, and she said she'd be willing to write us some grants to get money to do ADA accessible stuff to the playground. But she recommended that there was some legwork that we would need to do, especially if we wanted to create the pathways and things like that. You kind of have to get quotes from, like if you're going to do it with cement, you'd have to get cement quotes and how much you're looking at that would cost. And then she takes that information and puts it into the grant.
Okay.
Her idea was that if we could somehow show that our playground is a community playground and is the only truly ADA accessible playground in the greater Mount Washington Valley, that would be a really good way to get grants. People are gonna look at that and say, oh wow, that's where we wanna put the money. So kind of comparing what we have to the surrounding areas and see what would we do differently that would make ours a lot more accessible and inclusive to a variety of disabilities, would be a way to get some better grants.
Okay.
I thought someone from the board was supposed to be on that playground committee.
So we had it become, I thought we talked about it becoming part of the buildings and grounds. Just because it falls under that, I mean, we can do it differently, which is fine.
Okay,
I don't
maybe
think,
I misunderstood.
I don't
I
think we
thought
have a
that
person.
somebody was supposed to be.
I didn't realize there was a playground committee.
Me either.
I knew there was one when we did that
When we did-
portion of it, but that was really run a lot with the PTO at the time.
Right.
When that was actually implemented 3 years ago now, whenever it was.
Yeah.
So this, anyways, that was our first meeting, and we'll definitely get back together. Their quotes are at least a couple years old, or
No, they have one we had one for the fall. We had 3 for the fall.
They updated for the fall when they were asking, when we were gonna put them in an article.
right.
Said we need something at least more updated than what they had, because everything has changed, shipping and all that had changed. But, I mean, do we wanna have a separate representation?
I can meet with them. That's not a big deal.
Okay.
As part of the buildings and grounds, they were just gonna go back and look at what they had. Wasn't gonna work to keep the 4 square court because it was gonna end up going in there. And there's also a drain out there that it would have gone right over the top of. So it needs to be redesigned as it is, just given the drainage. And speaking of drainage, Jeremy and I looked at the drainage up at the top there. That's actually part of the leach field. So he and I need to figure out what we could do to help mitigate the water up there, because it's pretty sunken in. I think we can fix it, but it needs to be
Up on the hill?
up on the top of the hill. It's really settled out and everything, and it needs to be filled and leveled off so that the water sheds off of that. Right now, it just ponds and
Pools.
puddles and becomes a mud pit.
Got it. Sherry, did you have something else in the playground?
I did. Another thing that we were going to do is get somebody to come out. Heather, you had said because we had missed some, I guess that there was a law that if you built your playground at a specific time, it was supposed to be ADA accessible, and we overlooked that.
Unless the making it ADA accessible exceeded like 30% of the cost of the playground.
So you had said somebody would come out and give us guidance because.
So they don't do it anymore, they told me, but if I wanted them to take a look at it, they would send somebody, so I can get them, they're gonna look at it from a safety standpoint, not so much
Was
an
that
ADA
Primex?
accessible standpoint, yeah. They're gonna look to see that our swings aren't too close to another structure, they're gonna wanna see that we have enough wood chips and a sufficient depth under, I don't even know what that is, but that area. They're gonna look for broken items on the playground, so they're gonna be safety focused. I did print the law that I found that had, but again, I don't know where we would fall in it. I made a copy for everybody if you guys wanna take one, because it does say the construction of, and we didn't really construct a whole new, we re-renovated, so I don't know if that kinda is a gray area. But it does say accessibility, and it specifically talks about hard surface pathways. And whether that's a requirement of when we renovate it or not, I think it's a good thing to keep in mind. I know where I work, there are paved pathways throughout the playground, so if you do end
Do
up.
they use concrete or they use that
It's paved.
softer?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's asphalt, like the parking lot. So it does, you are able to plow certain areas in the winter and keep things.
Right, you can run a swimming pool.
And I would just say my only concern with looking at the the kind of the plan for the second phase is the idea that we were thinking that it's a structure over here, and to me it just feels like we're segregating more by just having one area of the playground, the ADA accessibility, rather than looking at what can we add to each
Bits and pieces
structure
in
that's
each structure.
already here. So we're including kids in every part of the playground.
So you're not separating them?
Yeah, I was feeling like that just didn't sit well with me, that area was, one, so small, and two, it seemed like being less inclusive rather than more inclusive.
That makes sense.
And then just being budget friendly because it was turned down when this last vote, so I think we have to be mindful of that.
Yep.
Yeah, if we could get grant money to do a lot of it,
And
would
I
be
think
great.
if we could maybe even potentially secure grants that maybe call for matching money, then we could be asking the town, look, we've potentially secured a grant for $50,000, but the town match needs to be $50,000. or something.
Another thing that Amy recommended as a place to start is if we had a contact here with Hannaford, because when they did some things through Laura Foundation, Hannaford did do a lot in terms of donating, so I kind of figured
I think we might have a contact for
I
Hannaford.
figured
I
we
know a
did, but
I'm not gonna
didn't-
call
I didn't want to
anybody
look
out.
that way, but she did recommend that that was an avenue we could kind of look at too,
Okay.
where she's had success. But
Perfect. I like it. Ed, back to you.
And I
Sorry,
believe the generator work was done, Heather.
Not finished.
Not
That's
finished.
what I see. I knew I wanted to talk about something today. He pulled. No, he didn't pull. He got everything prepped. It requires, I think he said 3 people to pull, and he only had 2 available. So I did ask that it gets done before June 30th. So because we don't have any other teacher workshop days or days off, it's going to have to be right when school closes. So we talked about that calendar.
And if you're questioning what that's about, it's tying the technical infrastructure into the current generator in the other building rather than putting a second generator in, so that our communication systems do not go down if the power goes down. Anything else, Ed?
That's it, Jeremy? No?
And then we added bees in there. Can we make sure that we reach
Yes,
out?
it's a yearly thing. They're ground nests that are just where the gym wall kind of stops and there's a little bit of a gap. And so yes, we have a pest control company that comes, and yes, Ken goes out and sprays. It's hard when it gets warm. They show up and then
Yeah.
they go away. So it's a
There-
difficult season, but we're constantly chasing them.
Have them check. I believe there's a ground nest up near the Shed Village. Sorry, I called that. And on the sheds themselves, I think there were 2 beehives up there.
And there's certain regulations on what we can spray for because of pollinators. Like we've run into this issue in
Yeah.
other districts. It's kind of frustrating because it's a safety concern, but there's protections for bees,
Yeah.
believe it or not.
Oh yeah, there should be.
They're hornets. They're hornets. They're not bees.
Right.
Well, the pest guys will tell us, believe me.
Yeah, I know. They want to save everything. Save the pollinators.
Yes.
Get rid of the
Yes,
ones
we'll get
that
those.
sting, bite, and
it's
Get those
just
bumper
hard when
stickers
they're in the
made immediately.
ground. I remember carrying a kid from the way up
You-
top
you-
all the way in with
you
hornets
walk
all
over
in
it,
their clothes.
and
And
you're inundated.
yeah, it's scary.
Okay. Any other questions for the buildings and grounds? Seeing none. Extended school year.
We talked about that last time, but Lisa did include her report on page 38, just with an update for our current students receiving services, referrals coming in, and discharges.
27 current K through 6, 2 discharges, 4 current charter schools, 1 referral, 1 discharge, 5 middle school, and 8 high school special ed.
Can I just make a comment?
Yes, sir.
On the previous page from what we just looked at.
Yeah.
I don't have a number.
37.
Preliminary grant allocations.
Yes.
I like that. I hadn't,
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
whether it's always been there, I hadn't noticed it.
No,
but
that's thanks, Jeremy. That's
That I like.
Heather was probably going to get to that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your
But
thunder.
basically, we've received our prelim for next school year. That is just their estimates, but that should hold pretty true. That's what we've seen for Title IV for the past number of years. Title I, we're seeing a small decrease by 6%, and that's because of the funding at the national level has stayed the same, but the state funding has decreased by 6% because a number of families in New Hampshire have moved above that line, which that associate.
But yeah, I noticed it earlier in the week. I thought it was pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Can we just,
Yes.
the student service report?
Yes.
So I know, Mike, I've emailed you, but just to say it out loud, I think Jeremy, Ed, you mentioned something at the last meeting about hours. And I was thinking maybe also maybe be more specific about what we mean by hours. I'm not sure if you meant paraprofessional hours, but I personally would like to see a breakdown of various services. But I think we were mainly thinking paraprofessional hours. Just because that's where things got muddy in the budget process the last time. And so that we can be clear and
Tracking
have
right
a,
through.
yep, have a history of this is what it is, so it's not all of a sudden something is different type of thing.
I can talk with Lisa about that. Having April vacation thrown in there, we lost a week, so
Yeah.
thank you for being patient with us. Yeah, we'll create something. I think one of our challenges is just to make sure that we don't have any identifiable information. So you may not be able to see all the breakout by services by grade level, but we can get you that general sense.
No, that's fine. I think we're just looking, or at least that's what I was
Overall.
thinking, is just overall, so that
The big picture of
we
what
can
it
kind
looks
of
like.
track things as we're coming into budget season.
Yep. I think that was the spirit of what we talked about and how we.
And then I think it also plays into the idea of what we've talked about at joint board meetings with sharing services. So, if we know, even if we're contracting for a certain number of psychological services and, we have so many hours of speech and language that we need to cover, but Freedom hardly has any, is there some way of sharing some of those services? I think if we have a historical perspective of what our requirements look like, then it makes it easier for us to have those conversations.
About sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. Heather Sherwood, you're up.
Oh, fund balance. All right. I want to point out, before I get way into the weeds, on the fund balance page, towards the top, the less amount returned to reduce taxes, it says June 30th, 2024. I had that wrong last month too. That's June 2025. That 551 is what was sent back in the fall. So I'm gonna give.
So Heather, before you go further,
Okay.
the question that came up was, how do we send this money back?
We don't send a physical check. It
Right.
is a credit when I fill out the estimated revenues on the MS-24 with DRA. I do it 3 times, and then I go over it on the phone with DRA, and I send a 4th signed copy, and they approve it. So on that, I have what I estimate for revenue, what I think we will get for grant funding for school lunch sales, for special ed aid from the state, EFA grants. There's all kinds of things you can estimate in there. Tuition is one. So I put that on there, all to the end. And then when we get to the end, when I'm on the phone with her, she pulls up my MS-25 that is pulled out of the DOE 25 report that I do September 1st. And she looks at the unassigned fund balance, and we review those, make sure nothing changes, that all looks good, that it's passed their review. That unassigned fund balance is counted as a revenue, for lack of a better word. So there's our total appropriation, that's our MS-22, that it's filed 20 days after annual meeting. They take that number, they subtract the revenues from it, they're gonna subtract the unassigned fund balance, so the amount returned to offset taxes from that. And that's how it goes back. So the local tax effort is the net number. So our total appropriations less all our revenues in the amount, the unassigned fund balance that's returned to offset taxes.
Thank you.
So if our appropriations are $1 million, and I've estimated 100,000 in revenue, and we have 200,000 of unassigned fund balance, the local tax effort to the town of Madison is $700,000. And that's what goes through there. And the only other thing I do when I make my schedule for the fund transfer is I then subtract adequacy aid, because for whatever reason, DRA does not handle that. So I take the net assessment on the MS-24, I subtract the adequacy aid from that, That's my starting number for funding. That is what is actually paid to the school district throughout the school year. Next year, our adequacy aid is 0, so it's going to be what the MS-24 form says net assessment.
And you set that schedule with the town?
Very early. I do an estimated one in July. Like, these are my best gets because I have to do another estimated revenue for September 1st. And then it gets revised with DRA, and I update it after the town has set their tax rate. So I get the final tax breakdown, and there's usually 4. There's the county, the town, the school district, and the state education tax. So the school and the state education amounts added together are the net, the local tax effort for education.
Thank you. Okay, back to the fund balance, but I know those are questions that come up. Go
Over
for
now?
it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I don't think I did this last time. If it's more confusing, I'm only gonna do it once, so bear with me. When I do the fund balance finally for the school year, I start with the audited fund balance ending number for FY25. That's the top number, the 1,062,244. I subtract from that. That includes our capital reserve funds. That's the whole number. I pull it right out of the audited financial statements. I subtract from that the capital reserve fund balances, the non-spendables, which are prepaids, the amounts voted from fund balance, which for this current school year was $45,000. It was warrant Article 6. The fund balance retained by the school board, and then I subtract the amount returned to reduce taxes, so that the school district on here starts their school year with 0. They have money in their set aside. That's the 62,999, but their school year starts with 0. So then when I go through the revenues, these I pull right out of the reports that are in the packet. I have prepaid appropriations. That's the amount, that's the set aside. I add it back in. It's already paid. We've done the paper shuffle. It never left our account. I have the amount for the warrant article because I'm going to pay that. That's in my expenditures. Revenues received to date. That's on the expenditure report that's in the packet. And then additional anticipated revenues. That's what I'm sure is going to come in. And to answer Ed's question, those are the 3 items that are highlighted in blue on the revenue report. There are some things that I was not expecting. There was some other state aid unrestricted at 16,000 and another at 18. Both of them related to special ed. It did not come through on any communication I had. I wasn't expecting any additional money. They do, I can't even tell you how they come up with it. It's like there's so much money. They go through the review process for all the, it's not called catastrophic aid, but the special ed aid, and I don't know if there's money left over after that, and they go through and reallocate it, but so some money came in I was not expecting. So anything on the revenue side and the budget balance that is at a positive number means we got money that I wasn't expecting. And then we move down, that's our total there, 8,180,000. That's what I expect our revenues to be for the year. And then on the expenditure side, I pull in the expenses. That's the general fund expenditures from the expenditure report. I subtract the prepaids because hopefully by then whatever was prepaid has come through. I believe it was WEX that caused most of that for me. Our change to FSA. Oh, no. Postpone. Sorry. Trying to get a restart and a scan. Then I subtract the encumbrances, and then I added 20,000 for additional anticipated food service exposure.
Okay.
It's a little hard with food service. I know when we look at revenue, the revenue for food service is only there through March. I haven't submitted the April claims yet. Can't submit April claims until Janet's done with her side. The month has to end. So there's a little lag in that process. But looking at what we have for expenditures to date and what is coming in for revenue, it's looking to me like we're going to need 20,000 more than what I have encumbered for food service transfer.
Okay.
So that gets the total expenditure amount that's on there, 7,168,000, and then I basically add up the zero, the revenue, and the expenditures, and I have 1,011,000 left over. To that, I add back the set aside. To do that every year. It's only set aside for 1 year. It's voted on by the board every year. Looking at 1,074,000, and then from that, this year's, and that says 2026 warrant article, which that one's right. Yay. 15,000 was the only one that was specifically said to come from fund balance. I believe that was a special ed capital reserve.
Correct.
But I could be
Yes.
wrong.
Yeah, because we did the building separate. Yep.
So I put in here net assessment. The way the RSA is written up to 5%. This school board has said 2.5%, so that's 173,433.27, and the 15,000 that's voted from fund balance for the warrant article means there's at this point an estimated 886,221.33 to return to offset taxes. So the question is this is what we expect. Believe we have everything encumbered. I am still very concerned about special ed. I said this last month, I'll say it again, special ed bills from Conway. We were told at the beginning of the year they were tracking things different. They were being more conscientious of what they had and that the bills would be higher than last year. We did get a few bills finally for halfway point, and they were very low. So I don't know. Don't want to poke the bear a lot and say, hey, you didn't bill us enough. Like, well, sure, we owe you more. You know, we did say that was, you know, is this correct? And, you know, it's kind of a wait and see. The other thing I will say is Madison still had some IDA funds, and I believe we just moved about 15,000 from March to a holding account briefly, and then it's going to show up in April, but it's not showing up in this April yet. That will come out of the general fund and will be an expenditure for IDA funds, and will be reimbursed that way. So it is a large fund balance, and I said last month, and I will give a little more detail. On high level, we have 2 classroom full-time teachers that were not hired that were in the budget this year. So that is their wages and their benefits, which is substantial. Then we have a para that we never hired that was for the charter school. We have paid a service, ProCare, to provide those services. We've been able to use IDEA funds to pay for that. So there is a full-time para in this budget that we haven't expended because we were able to leverage grant funds for those services. We had some changes in personnel. Some people moved from classroom to special ed case manager. We had a new classroom teacher hired. Those changes, in some cases, the person came into it at either a lower step or track than the person that held that position, and or they had a lower need in the health insurance. It was a single plan versus a family plan, which that's a $20,000 spread just in health insurance. So that's big. In custodial, we have been without a full-time custodian for several months. With our subline is overspent, I believe. That was filled in January, and that position came in. The health insurance required a a lower cost plan than the person that previously held the position. And then the out of district costs, when we do our budget and we do it far in advance and we have to budget with what we know, we were fully expecting an out of district placement based on paperwork that came in. But the staff at this school worked really hard and were able to keep the student in the district, in the school, with some supports. We did spend some of that money. We did bring some outside services in. But by being successful here in the least restrictive environment is a huge savings to the town. So when I say that it's largely due to unfilled positions, it's unfilled positions. It's positions that we were able to leverage grant funds for. Partially unfilled positions. It's changes in census. And that is a large part of the fund balance. And I have one last statement. If it stays this large, Last year, we returned 551,565.67. So to return 886 is another 330,000. That's great. As a taxpayer, I love that.
But
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I sit on the negotiating committees for the high school. No matter what we do, 27, 28, we are going to pay more for our middle schoolers and high schoolers. I would hate to see this all returned. It will send our tax rate down, and I don't want to say artificially, but somewhat. And then we're going to turn around and see what I'm estimating a $5,000 per student increase in the middle and high school costs. So we don't have a final number. This is not a decision time, but this may be a time when the board sets aside 5%, which would be 346, 866.54. Then we'd be sending back 712 instead of 886. It's not much, but it's a little bit to offset that 27, 28 budget when it comes around.
So, I was the one who sat there and said, we'll not go 5%. I've been clear to say that every time. I think if we were to have a discussion about that, I would maybe like to have a public hearing related to it. I understand the concept of, and maybe earmarking half of that to be returned next year, but being very careful not to set new precedent. When I was the one, I asked for the 2.5%, the town gave us the 2.5%. We've continued for year after year with the 2.5%. When the law changed and we had to update it to 5%, we updated it to 5%, and this board said, and I was sitting right here when we said it, and I said it out of my mouth, that as long as I sit here, I would not do that.
I will say, the board's hands are tied. 5% is your maximum, 2.5%
Right.
is what you promised.
Yep.
Selectmen have a lot more leeway, and maybe
Right.
this would be a great conversation to have with the select board. They can set aside, they have some discretion over what they set aside, unlike the school.
They can
Yeah.
withhold a larger amount,
And
larger
so-
percentage.
And another thing to look at regarding census, we have 36 graders who are going into the middle school and only
that's what I
18
was just
leaving.
looking
So
at.
we're upping by 12 children as
Our-
well, going
our
into
middle high school numbers.
Right. Which will affect, obviously that number will go up.
Correct. So,
The only other thing I was gonna add, not that I'm trying to diminish your fund balance, but I think the other thing that you wanna consider is the strategic planning, if that is a item that you wanna partake in. I know
Yes.
Barrett is coming to the next meeting to talk about that process, and that could involve some cost, and there might be some tech items involving security that might be wise to potentially purchase that's gonna cause a problem down the road, because that was a default line. We had to really get rid of that, so there's gonna be some compounding tech needs in the future. So I guess what I'm saying is maybe I can bring a couple options for the board to consider with
Right.
some of this.
and it wouldn't be holding over fund balance, it'd be, there's money in.
Correct.
So I know we talked about the strategic plan, there's money in the school board line to potentially cover that hasn't been spent yet. So that we could get that done sooner rather than later. But yeah, I mean, I think rather than, yes, look at what we have budgeted now in our budget for related items
Mhm.
to be able to manage those things, I think.
So you're not gonna get hit all at once in a
Right.
couple year.
And, I mean, like we talked about, if we do a strategic plan and decide, yes, we wanna hire them, we have to budget for it, we have to go through town meeting, we have to be approved for it, so it starts a year later, and I know there's a lot of conversation about that, and there is a good amount in these school board lines that we haven't used for
Mhm.
attorney fees and things like that, that would be
Yeah, we'd be
appropriate
pretty good with that.
for those funds. So, yeah, bring that back to us as a proposal, I think that would be good, and I think I don't disagree with your thought there, Heather. To try to
It's not even a
stabilize.
recommendation. I just want to put it out for people to think about. It is a large amount going back. It was a large amount this past year, but knowing we had a big budget, we had paid the school care assessment, we had already decided what was going back. I think it was the right thing to do. But next year is already voted and set, and it's down. I'm looking beyond that, and that is looking
Right,
up.
because our budget's down and our approved budget is down and we're gonna send back potentially $800,000. Now, if let's say we do the 2.5. And we say to the selectmen, because they can hold over more, will you hold 173 in your coffers for that purpose? Let's say they did that, they held the other 2.5%. The following year, the school would still look like it was up because the town would be using the money that's in.
It'd still be taxing for that money.
It'd still be taxing for the money.
The local education tax
Right,
will still be
would
up.
still be higher. So it would appear that the local education tax went much higher.
I would rather keep the 5% if you're worried about it than tax money for the point of taxing money. I don't
Right.
see the benefit of that.
Okay. And then, so I think that's a conversation we need to have, and then, like I said, I would be, if this board thinks it's a good idea, I would open it up to a public hearing to hear what the public has to say on it.
I have a question.
Sure.
So you mentioned that you anticipate possibly from SAU 9 an increase in tuition costs.
Well,
There's
they
some exposure.
told us that it would be higher this year.
Yeah.
So far, the first round of billing has not shown that.
But you think even next
Oh,
year
no,
is
no.
going to be like another 5,000 for each
I
student?
know you're talking two things.
So
She's
that was
talking
sped.
tuition agreement, you're talking
I'm talking
special ed.
sped. I am anticipating, based on what we've been looking at.
Would
Now,
that be
nothing's
for the year
guaranteed because we
after?
don't have a firm number
Yeah.
on anything.
Yep.
It would be
But-
for what we budget.
It is going to
In
be
our
what we
next
budget
cycle.
for
Would
27,
it impact
28.
us in a budget year next year? It would be the year after.
Right,
Yes.
not
Okay.
26, 27, it'd be
That's
the
what I was just
27,
trying to wrap my
28.
mind around.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't impact the 2.5% that we would keep for next year.
Right, but we could turn that, the idea would be to turn that back to offset what we would take for that 27, 28 year. I hate looking twice years over.
It's almost the same idea as if we had put 175,000 into a tuition stabilization
Right.
on an article this year and held it until, oh gosh, our first bill is way higher, and then used it.
So,
I mean, there are schools of thought that'll say, no, you just send it back and the taxes rate is the tax rate.
right,
after
the
all
tax
the
rate
needs
goes
are
up, the tax rate goes down.
valid.
Well, I think that's easier to understand from my perspective. I don't know that necessarily the best way to do it, but
It's trying to stabilize the net impact either way.
right, and it's kind of like I kind of throw around the words that George Epstein talks about, like, are we going to hold everybody's money, or are we
Right.
just going to give it back to them and then ask them for more later?
Ask them for more later, which happens to be the next year.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
So it's the idea of who's holding whose money
Correct.
and for what purposes.
Yep.
And I think most of us would want to hold our own money for the most part.
So if we hold more in the holdback in the 2.5%, say make it 5, that just means we'll tax them then. The school will then tax for the extra 2.5% on the next budget going ahead, versus turning it back. So your net assessment would be changed.
We turn it back at the end of every year. So I set it aside at the beginning, and then when I do the ending fund balance projection, I add it back in. So it just means I have more money at the end of fiscal year 27, so June 30, 27. I either have 173 to add in, or I have 346 to add back in.
Right.
We haven't spent it like dipped into it yet, even though there's been some public hearings. It just means theoretically there's more available. So if we spend every cent in our budget this coming year, the 26-27 school year, and we have nothing to add to this, and my revenue projections and estimates are spot on, then we have $346,000 to turn over to the town instead of $173. But do we need to hold their money for them, or do we turn it all back
Right.
and then know the tax rate's going to go back up for the 27-28 school year?
So do we look at this year and say the tax, oh, it went down 12.25%, but next year's going up 3.5%, you know, how do you balance it?
I think I agree with you to have a public hearing on it, to see
What
what the public
the
wants to do.
Yep.
Okay.
When we get close. Hold it either at the beginning of the meeting or in the middle of it, or whatever
Right.
time it is.
I mean, if we can do that in August, that's a pretty good time, and I should have everything closed by then at least.
Okay.
Within a few $100.
Yeah, no, August, I think we should just go ahead and plan for that now. Is everybody okay with that?
So it would be part of our regular.
It would be
meetings?
part of our, we would recess the meeting, open the public hearing, close the public hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then allow that conversation to happen there, and then we could make a decision before the end of the meeting. Okay, questions for Heather, other questions? Did you have a question?
Nope.
Okay.
I have lots of comments and I'll wait for the public hearing.
There's no more.
No, they're gonna set up a
Oh,
public hearing.
oh.
Cause it's all discussion
Yes,
stuff.
right.
And I don't know if there's maybe a time when the budget committee and the school board committee can, before the public hearing,
Sure.
can sit and have a discussion about it.
I think that could happen as well. To have their input be available at that time.
Cause that can be combined with all the other guidance.
Yeah. Good with that? All right. Where's my agenda go? There it is. Anything else for us, Heather? You
No.
brought us good news.
I'm still recovering from vacation, so I'm surprised I got that far.
Great.
All right, Superintendent, you're up.
All right. Last day of school, you'll note that when you approved the school calendar at the beginning of the school year, it was the 17th. Things changed. We've had 3 snow days. Heather has asked that we make up one of those days. We don't need to because we're on hours, but rather than have our staff not engage with our kids, as another opportunity for our teachers and students to be together, which I think is valuable. So I would support that recommendation. So that last day of school would be the 18th, which would be a early release day.
July 18th?
You got it. I think I'd get some angry letters, but sure, I'll say Jim said.
Whatever, just read them and
yes,
move on.
June 18th.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So what I have for you in your packet is, you'll see on pages 40 through 59 represents. Yes, you got to get up close. If you want a larger copy of this, I'm happy to provide it. This packet was quite lengthy without that. So.
It's also 7 cents a copy for color, and I thought color was necessary for this. So
Yep. Yep.
It takes 14 black and white sheets to equal one colored one we decided today, so.
So consider this a referral to your optometrist, and go ahead and make those appointments. So on pages 40 to 59, I have a cross SAU comparison of student mastery levels relative to current and projected outcomes. This analysis is divided into 2 sections: mathematics from page 40 to 49 and reading 50 to 59. And what I'm hoping is to just share with you a few highlights. There's a lot to unpack here, and when you get your magnifying glasses at home, you can certainly dig in. Jeremy's outsmarted us all. He's right there with the camera. Excellent.
Can't see it.
So what you're looking at is the STAR Renaissance data. there's 3 categories you'll be seeing there. It's secure, typical, and beginning. Secure is your most proficient area. Typical is your intermediate area, and beginning is obviously students that are just starting to understand those skills. So we're starting with reading first. What you will see here.
Thank you.
What's that?
Isn't it developing and not typical?
Developing, beginning.
That
developing,
middle one?
secure.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
Isn't that middle one developing, not typical?
Oh, did I write down? Did I get my notes crossed? Yes, thank you. You're correct. Thank you, Deb. So looking at the areas of, I think that are worth highlighting, looking at Madison and how they perform against Tamworth and Freedom. One of the areas that we need to see some priority areas for improvement are on reading comprehension. So that's performance standard R132. Oh, look at that. We're live and okay.
I can try to
All
zoom
right,
in
all right.
if you tell me
Good luck
where you
keeping
need
up.
to go.
Good luck keeping up with me, but thank you. This is good stuff. So looking at comprehension is an area that we need to work on. And I should mention, these are all looking at grade 3 students. Okay, so this is just looking at grade 3. We've had some conversation about our K2 model, and I think it's important to note that how are our students comparing to other districts that may have different configurations, similar configurations for combined levels or individual grade levels. So I thought looking at this area for the culminating experience would be valuable. So looking at an area of need, again, reading comprehension. Our students in Madison, 67 were in the secure range, and just for a point of reference, it looked like Tamworth were falling in the 69 to 85 and Freedom 57 to 71. So that's an area that we need to work on here in Madison. Higher level thinking skills, looking at point of view. So in that first area for comprehension, it's understanding the main ideas. Second standard for higher level thinking skills was that point of view area. Again, Madison is in a position for this specific area where about 50% of our students are secure. And that's an area that I think would benefit from having some deeper instruction and intervention. Vocabulary development, acquisition and use was another area that we need to pay attention to. Madison had 58% secure, Tamworth was in 69 secure, and Freedom was kind of in a swing between 60, 71 in that area. So I think
Can I just
yes, go ahead.
stop for 1 second?
Yeah, sure,
I mean,
certainly.
Freedom's numbers sound higher, but we need to also remember that their sample size is much
They see big
smaller,
swings.
so.
Each student is statistically significant.
Correct.
You see big swings in Freedom because of their small sample size. That's right. Okay, so let's look at, first I'll stop there with reading. Questions about reading? Or just, this is the cross SAU. I'm also going to talk about some cohort data in a minute.
Are all students in grade 3 tested, or is this a subsection of the entire?
For all intents and purposes, all students in grade 3 are tested.
I noticed.
Depends on the student. Depends on the students.
The only reason that they wouldn't take it is if they didn't, for reading, reach it, because there's the early literacy, then there's the reading test. So if they aren't reading at a level to be able to take the reading test, then they would take the early literacy.
And I did not factor that into this.
And we have very few students that, since I've been here, that we've had to do that for at third grade, so it's definitely an outlier.
Yeah, this is just the culminating. This was apples to apples. Everyone took the same assessment.
Got it. And is there an opt-out option to this?
No.
No, okay.
This is what we use for internal benchmarking.
Okay.
So when I looked at the end ones where you have them by grade levels, I noticed that there's a blue section in those, which I can't read what it. I think it was on watch.
Which
on
page you
watch.
on? Yep.
So the very end.
Oh, okay.
Like
here.
they go by grade level. So
I
it's-
see the blue now.
Yeah. I think
Okay,
it's
so
just
sure,
Madison.
sure. I can speak to that. Yeah.
And it's just that the blue doesn't appear in any of the
That's right.
other. So I was just questioning that.
That was just the way that specific report was set up. So in the cross case comparison across different schools, it gave me 3 three subsections.
Okay.
When I looked at our own cohort data, it broke it down more similar to the way we look at SAS testing. So in those four domains.
Okay. And then I had some questions that came up when public comments were being made in terms of like the cut scores and kind of.
Sure.
So my question was for the STAR. This is a nationally normed test.
That's right.
Are we? So when we look at these percentages, are we looking at the nationally normed
District. We're looking at the state
So
level.
this isn't comparing. This is just comparing us to Tamworth and Freedom, but not the national norm.
This is comparing us to Freedom and Tamworth, but the cut scores are at the state level, similar to the
State
state,
level.
not national. I can
Okay.
change that. Yes.
This one here has percentile rank, so it's percentile
In the state?
In the state, that's correct.
Okay, so it's not nationally.
That's right.
Percentages. They're
Yes,
New Hampshire.
that's correct.
percentages.
So anybody else, just what we're asking is, if you pull this packet up online, you can zoom in on each of
Yeah,
these
that's how
sections to
I
read
did
it
it.
a little
I've
bit.
got
If I
my
look at this, I
notes.
can't even see the TV. My eyes are stopped.
Yeah, I had to do like 300% on my computer to read it.
There's a lot
So,
here.
I got a question. Like, I'm just looking at the end.
Sure.
Sixth grade says 51 students. We don't have 51 sixth graders.
So that this test, there's some students that were tested multiple times. So depending on how, because this is not a standardized test, if you will, students can take this multiple times. That is a variable that I was going to mention at some point.
because we do progress monitoring.
Right.
So if they're getting an intervention, then every 4 to 6 weeks, they're taking it again for data.
Is there a way to comb it out?
Not for this. This would have to be a procedural conversation and say, hey, if the student, this is it, one and done, you can take
No,
the.
that's okay. It just threw me off when I see 50 kids in sixth grade.
Yeah, so that's why. Some students took that multiple times, and there's a variety of reasons for that. If the student wasn't trying, to Heather's point, if they're testing more frequently, there's some internal mechanisms that I think we can have a conversation about as a leadership team about. Do we want to, some philosophical questions that, do we want to have students just taking this, it's called the enterprise STAR. Do we want to just have them take it and what it is, or just have them, there's also an abbreviated STAR test that they could take, which they could take multiple times without going into this data set.
Scoring into the
Yeah,
percentage.
you got it. Yeah.
So on the third grade ones, does that have students who have taken the test multiple times?
Yeah, it would. It would.
So
Yeah.
can I just speak procedurally in-house? When we do our data team meetings and we talk about every kid, we're looking at what they're doing on that single benchmark 3 times a year. So we're looking at that score. And then we're using any other testing as part of our progress monitoring. So when we're looking, like if I pull data for you and I say this is where we're at, I'm looking at that specific benchmark, but I'm hand pulling all that, not having the program
Correct.
produce it. So that's the difference. So like in our report card, that cohort data is pulled very specifically out of our data spreadsheets that we have.
When
So
you're,
this would be a generic poll on all the data.
yeah, this is a generic poll that I can make different reports out of. To Heather's point, if you're going to have more individualized conversation or have more in-house conversation, you can just pull that. It's Madison's small enough where you can pull the individual report for each kid and see this was their latest test. This won't let me weed that out.
So when we pull this all together, rather than showing it with multiple, is there a way to say the May 5th test that every student took? That's
If
what-
you want to see that, I mean, part of, and I can keep going on, or if you think this is too in depth, what part of the reason I wanted to bring this is look at our third graders, look at how they're coming into third grade, and then towards the end of this, you'll see cohort where you can see back from 21 to 22. And then see how these students are. So I'll just be brief and just mention a few highlights. If you want to pull things out, let me know. But I won't get too far into the weeds because there's a lot to unpack here. So just bouncing back to math. So now looking at continuing our cross-district comparison. The other areas of math that that need to be looked at are our operations and algebraic thinking. So that's our core computation across multiplication and division standards. Madison is that's an area that across the district that we need to see. So Madison's actually have 17% secure rates. Freedom and Tamworth are lower than that. Problem solving application is another need. This involves standards and multi-step problem solving. So this is talking about your operations. High beginning rates in all three districts. Madison shows that that they're slightly behind Tamworth and Freedom here. Again, this is an area that all three districts need to work on.
Can I ask, why are there two levels of students?
Because one is looking at where they are currently, and one is their projected. So yes, thank you, Heather.
Because
Sure, we
like
can
one
talk about
says
that.
4 students and then one says 1 student, so that's confusing to me.
So what you'll see is that first band is where they are currently, and then STAR will project them out where they will finish where they're projected to finish the year. So that's a good mechanism to look at, is how they will score on the SAS. That's what we should be seeing for growth.
So like looking at that one right there, just the.
Sorry, I was trying to get it so you could see.
Yeah, you're fine.
That's right. So that top, I was looking at Freedom, but that's fine. So they're showing 4 students currently in the beginning stage, projecting that only 1 will still be in that beginning stage based on the results of their.
Is it a 1-year projection or the?
This is a
end
1-year
of the
project.
year?
This is where they are now. Oh, sorry. Yes, this is where they should finish this current year.
So the projection is where we hope they're going to finish, or we
They're
project
current-
that they're going to finish at the end of the school year.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And do we take this at the end of the school year?
We will do this to Heather's point. We'll take this. What we should be doing is taking 3 times a year. You get a fall, winter, and spring benchmark.
So they're taking spring benchmarks right now.
Okay. So this is the winter one?
This is pulled off the last winter benchmark. That's right.
It'd just be interesting to see like this benchmark from the winter versus whatever the projection.
And I think this is great conversation that we should be having at board meetings, is talking about where our students are academically and where they're showing up on our benchmarks. I think this is really great conversation, and I think this is a good entry point, and we can figure out what the board wants to see in the future. Do you want this to be? Do we want to talk about at the standard level, which we're talking about right now, or do we want to see kind of some broader strokes? I do just want to highlight the last 2 sections of this report, which is looking at that cohort data. Okay, so what I was able to parse out looking at this is that we're seeing some strong early literacy foundation skills in our grades 1 through 3. We're seeing about 80% at or above benchmark in grade 1. Grade 2, we're seeing anywhere from 36 to 61% at benchmark, depending on the standard. And grade 3, 75% at or above benchmark. So pretty strong skills there. When we move into middle school, what this showed when we're looking at the cohort data was it was kind of stable but plateauing in grades 4 and 5. So we're seeing that good initial foundation, but that it gets stable, and then we see a decline in grades 5 and 6. So what this data is showing us is that they're getting those good foundational skills, but we need to continue to make sure those are supported as they move up. And then looking at that was reading, looking at math. Again, a strong start with 74 to 75% being proficient in grades 1 to 3. Seeing that maintenance in grades 4 and 5 for around 74% being proficient, and then declining slightly in grade 6. So what I think this data is showing us, because all data tells a story, is that we're seeing some strong literacy systems in grade 2, K through 2, excuse me. Some good start to intervention with our students that need more intervention and performance skills. But we need to work on that transition from learning to read to reading to learn. I think there's a big piece where we're taking that foundational knowledge and then having students apply it, like we talked about with those multi-step problems, or getting into the details when we're unpacking some of those literacy skills. So
At what age should they go from? At what level should they go from learning to read to?
from where I sit, I think 3rd grade is the most pivotal. So Again, I think the team that came in and presented last time on their interventions did a really nice job. I wanted to provide the board with a little more data. I may have flooded you, and this is like drinking through the fire hose. And I'm trying to be brief, so I'm sorry if I'm sounding like an auctioneer here, being really fast. But I want to be cognizant of time. But if you have questions, you want me to dig deeper on anything, I'm happy to do that.
Can you run these reports one more time?
Sure.
In full sheet and just post them on the website.
Sure.
In
Sure.
full sheet, if
They
it's
already
easy enough to,
exist.
it does already exist?
Well, because that's what he sent me, and I formatted it to be
Okay.
smaller. So.
If we could just print that, put that to the website, that way people can read
Sure.
it and not have to keep zooming.
Sure.
It'd just be much easier to go through and assess out the data.
Sure.
I just had some questions about the curriculum we use. So I know we've had discussions about letters. We're still using Foundations, right?
We're using Foundations, Haggerty, Just Words, Arts and Letters.
And
I'm looking at people who
Yeah,
teach it
no,
too to
that's
make sure that I'm not missing
Sorry,
anything.
I'm not missing anything.
Those are the core programs.
So Just Words is. Are you?
Wilson, it's a Wilson product.
It's an intervention program.
Yeah, I use it. So, I'm just wondering though. There's a new version now that we're piloting in SAU 9. Is there any thought of?
I know there's been lots of talk about spelling and what to use for spelling. So that's a conversation that is currently happening, and we're looking at different resources through our grade level team meetings that we've had SU wide. I know that conversation has come up for I think everybody, K to 6. So yes, those conversations are happening about what to do for kids and how to, those that don't have any issues with spelling, how to challenge them further, but then how to make sure that we're taking care of the kids that still have some spelling struggles.
And then for math, what's our curriculum?
So the core program is illustrative math.
How much training has been done with that program? And how long have you been
We
using
didn't
it?
hire a trainer. There were a couple of staff that went to the Thinking Classroom that was training that was offered up at NCES. And we did a whole year PLC where we met once a month as teachers to discuss and share and learn.
We've been using Illustrative 3 years?
This
2?
is our 4th year.
Okay.
4th year.
And so I just am wondering math wise, because I know we use illustrative math in SAU 9. Every grade has their set of units that you complete. So with the multi-age, multi-grade format, how does that work here at Madison?
So math is taught by grade level, with the flexibility of if a student needs to flex up or down, then they can. But typically, it's everywhere. K through 6 is taught by grade level, because we know how it is foundational and spiraling.
And reading's not necessarily taught that way.
Not necessarily. K2 they separate out in the morning for grade level. But again, with the flexibility of we have a kindergarten and a first grade and a second grader and a first grade, like we have that flexibility for that. And then in 3, 4, 5, 6, it's more all together, and it ranges, whether it's based on ability or interest or skills, depending on what they're working on for different whatever part of the curriculum that they're at, program that they're at.
Has there been any thought to, I didn't realize that the reading K to 2 is pretty much separated out, and math is separated out to, if we're teaching kids separate, does that mean we're taking them from their, homeroom teacher, that's their?
For K2, or
mainly K2.
So
but-
K2. So we have one teacher this year right now, and last year one teacher dedicated teaching kindergarten curriculum, one for first grade and one for second grade. That happens in the morning. Foundations is different, still happens in the morning, but there are multiple groups because that is broken up by skill level, how fast kids are learning, progressing. So we can have anywhere from 3 to 6 groups depending on what kids need for that. And then they're together all afternoon. So they go between teachers. Next year, because we're looking at 2 teachers, we're looking at how we're structuring that for the instructional model. Upstairs, one teacher for 3-4 is teaching a 3rd grade math and one's doing a 4th grade math. But then other stuff they're together, and I can speak to 5-6. Some teachers are doing 5th grade and some are doing 6th. So, and not even all classroom teachers, right? We use other staff to do that. So it's not like, yes, they're not with their homeroom teacher, but, and it's for that 45-minute block that is for that day. And then when they do RTI groups, you know, they're all in different ones. So it's a mix.
I think my overall impression, I mean, I was really looking at all
Yes,
this
certainly.
data on the
Understood.
computer because I get this stuff because I deal with this stuff, and just trying to like, I was really, really feeling discouraged by the math because the math was the first that we looked at, and I wasn't really comparing between us, Freedom and Tamworth.
Sure.
I was just looking at Madison
Sure.
and the percentages based on beginning, developing, and secure, and just looking at some of the standards and having like 17% secure and 8% secure, but yet when you look at reading, we have 75%
Yeah.
secure, 67%. I mean, there is a huge difference. I was pleasantly surprised by the language arts and reading part of the STAR, but also knowing, having administered this test in the past, I don't know if it's still true, STAR always scored high.
Because there's a portion of it that it's adaptive, right? So it's going to move you up and down. It takes into there's a lot of, because it's not necessarily a standardized test. You're right.
Yeah, so that even made me more concerned for the math part of the data that we received in the packet. So,
Which goes back to your concern earlier of potentially having a
yes, the Title I like a
math
position.
specialist.
But I mean, I don't know that that's not necessarily an end-all fix for the situation.
But it might be a continual improvement.
Yeah, I just was wondering what we're looking at as a district that's different, because what we've been doing in the math area doesn't seem to be getting us the result that
And
we
we've had this
want.
program for
4 years.
4 years.
I think math is, I know math is obviously an area of concern across the state, across the nation. That is going to be one of the focus areas across the district, that how we're looking at resources, how we're looking at programs. I think one of the things that we've talked about a number of times is making sure there's good alignment. In this case, having the alignment with Conway and having good conversation there, so our students have the similar experiences going in, so they can be identified, they can get the right support, they're familiar with the curriculum, and our teachers can hand off those students to the middle school, high school teachers kind of seamlessly. What we've been doing this year is really focusing on ELA, and that was a thoughtful effort. We did that with intention because it's an area that you can dig into. A lot of people understand it. That's where, most of our teachers are generalists. They didn't go to school to be math teachers. They went to school to be, just teachers. And as you progress up the grade levels, the math gets more specialized. So we wanted to do something that was inclusive of all our educators. And I think we've really seen some good growth there, good suggestions moving forward. And I think that's starting to show in the data. But I think, Deb, to your point, math really does need to be, it's a crisis. I mean, I don't think there's any other word for it. I think there's a crisis. I think we have a nation that has, math phobia, if you will. You're allowed to have that negative self-talk about math. You don't see that in any other subject area. You don't say, like, hey, I'm not good at reading. No one says that. I'm not good at math. You hear it all the time. So I think kind of breaking that apart and encouraging our students to do their best to try, break that down, making sure our kids have access to whether it be specialized support or educators have access to that specialized support, I think are all important strategies as we move forward. And I think next year we'll be focusing on mathematics instead of ELA, and we'll just keep working on that cycle. The work's never done, but we try to make sure that we're hitting all those subject areas equally, and it's on a cycle.
I think one of the things that we've been saying this for a couple of years, and we're hoping illustrative math was going to help with it, is the retention. Kids don't retain information; they don't hold on to it. Math facts. You can learn it in grades 3, 4, and then you get to 6th grade and you're counting on your fingers again. Like there's no retention, and so it's that bigger picture of why aren't they retaining? Why is it not getting in there? You know, like. Right, but I mean, but we're like, you know, if you said 9 times 7, like, you know, we could because we learned it rote. Kids don't learn that way anymore, and how do you maintain it? And so I think that's one of the biggest conversations that we've been having. And so how do we keep spiraling that back? So we're giving that practice, so they're getting that, you know, because you teach illustrative math in 6th grade, the first thing you do is area and volume, and you don't touch that again. And so you're expecting them to learn something abstract like that, but then remember it, you know, by June or next year when they're at, you know, another level that has to tap into it.
Except I'll say, as a 4th grade teacher, you do area and perimeter, and in 3rd grade you do area and perimeter. So they do hit it. Volume might be the one thing that is the new thing in 6th grade.
6th
but
grade is volume and
it's
surface area,
supposed
nets
to
and-
like cycle.
Yes.
So if you don't master at one level, it doesn't transfer through. But I would say another recommendation I would have for the Title I or Title II or Title 4A money is to get someone from illustrative math to do some professional development. We've had it in SAU 9, and it's a lot to digest, even though, I mean, I'm in year 3, I think, or 4 of illustrative math, and it still is a process. We still meet with the people from IM, and she has us teach lessons together as a whole group. So I do think it's very beneficial to have somebody who's an expert in the program, where you guys are probably experts in the kids and the population that you have, to have kind of that balance. So that would be a recommendation I would have for some of the title money.
I'll reach out to Dr. Frechette and see if she can give me that contact information.
Krista Boucher would probably be better to.
Even better. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Other.
So I was really interested in seeing this because I'm not a fan of K through 2, and I think that that seeing the data it's tough because normally data is your friend, but this is just extremely confusing and I think convoluted, and I don't know that it really does give us a good overall picture. But I do know this, I know that we're pulling out at grade level to teach the kids, and we're using folks like RTI folks and case managers, which I'm sure they have stuff to do during that time, you know, but they're being pulled out to teach math or whatever it is. So that's a concern. So I just really think that the administration needs to think about what they do next year, because I just don't think this model works.
I've been very. I think when this whole model started, I was hesitant. I asked Heather to prove to me that that it's working, or how we rolled it out, whether we were rolling it out all at once or we were rolling it out K2 or one K1, 2 K1, 1 2, and then the kindergarten option. I think it's an area that we need to continue to look at. I think it's certainly an area that we need to continue looking at the data to see if it's working. When I looked through this data, and that's why I want to encourage everyone else to look at it, I didn't see anything that was alarming to me saying that this model it's clearly not working. I didn't see anything there that I thought was alarming and hit the panic button. I think it's an area we really need to continue to look at and make sure that the staff and the parents and students are invested in it. But I think that's just what I'll say. That's what the data showed me. And if someone sees anything else in the data, I'm happy to dig deeper or give another report or something more broad. I know this is getting right into the standards, which is like, you're dialed right in. You're funneled all the way in. If you want me to bring it out, we can do that.
Well, so pulling your case managers and your RTI folks to teach classes isn't alarming? They are hired in those positions
So I
to do
think that's
specific
taking
work.
it out of context, because that's a special thing happening this year because we lost 2 classroom teachers.
Right.
And the other alternative would have been to not have taken a classroom teacher to special ed and left her in the primary grades. So, I mean, we had to do something, and this was the best way that we could manage that. So-
But that's not gonna change next year.
It absolutely will change next year. The case managers will not be teaching next year. They will be doing their job. RTI only if it works out because it's an appropriate use of their time. But it's this year specifically that this is happening because we're down 2 classroom teachers.
I guess I was confused because I thought you had said last year you taught a class.
I do. I've been teaching a class for several years now, but that's partly because of that's a by choice and working
Yes.
with small groups. That's not because I have to. It's a
Heather teaches math because she wants to, even though,
in 6th grade math is hard and not everybody can do it. So it's something that is helpful to have someone who's experienced doing it. And for
So I think to that question, what changes next year?
Yeah, what changes
In
next
the
year
lower
that
grade.
doesn't take you guys teaching at grade level?
well, next year, I mean, technically they can do a 5th and a 6th grade. They have 2 teachers and they can teach it individually if they want to. That there's no numbers that say that we need to do it. This year was unique, and honestly, since COVID, I have taught some way, shape, or form, and that's what I do to fuel me. It's a personal decision. So whatever I don't get done, that's my hour, 45 minutes I take out of my day 4 times a week. Then I'm making up that time doing my job on my own time, because for me, I'm passionate about working with kids and being there and being in touch with them, and that's what keeps me going.
But the K2, I think, is what were you asking,
K2
but that
is-
was
but
class
K2
sizes as well.
Right, so K2, it'll be a different model. There'll be one teacher that most likely will teach the K1 content and one that will teach the 2nd grade content. They're, except for foundations, which has been what they've done for 12, 15 years or more, separating it out. But that's an intervention to give them the phonics that they need at the pace that they need. So I just think this year is an anomaly, and we need to see it for what that is. And we did the best that we could, being down 2 staff.
So, question I have is, this is the 3rd grade.
Mhm.
Is this 3rd grade the first kindergarten grade in the multi-age K2?
No.
No.
Because we're in our
So-
3rd year of K2.
So then the 2nd grade currently, so next year's 3rd grade would be the,
There was only one class
The
that
results
first
from
year
the
that was
week.
K2. That first
Right.
year was a transition year, so we had a K1, a 1-2, and a K2.
correct,
So, but yes.
okay.
So that means the later kids.
That means the kids who were in 1st grade that year, that's this 3rd grade. So to get the full 3-year experience would be next year's.
that's why I wanted to look at our 3rd graders.
I would just ask if we dig into this deeper, because the percentages also on the ballot that we had to list because of DRA, that's based on SAS, right?
That's correct.
And those were not good for math either.
That's right.
I think we were in the 20-something percent.
Yeah.
So that to me is ringing alarm bells. And
Yeah.
So to hear you say crisis in one sentence and then not seeing anything alarming
Let me
is
qualify
hard
that.
to
Let me qualify that statement.
hard to understand.
That statement was in reference to comparing our other 2 districts that don't do a K2 model. That's what that was referring to. Thank you for pointing that out.
I think my bigger concern, having taught 1st grade for 17 years and now teaching 4th grade, I would say 4th grade for sure is a reading to learn year. We departmentalized this year for the first time in 4th grade, and I was a little leery because I feel like that's kind of on the low end, developmentally hard to justify, is it appropriate, but we make one switch halfway through the day, that's it. But knowing that some kindergartners, 1st graders, 2nd graders are doing some of that transitioning that we expect of middle schoolers, to me is hard to justify that that's developmentally appropriate for that age. Like you want your kindergartner to be with their classmates and their teacher for the majority of the time, I think. So I obviously have my opinions, but this is something that administration decides. But I think this math data is really concerning for
Agreed.
me.
Yeah.
And knowing that we're teaching these subjects in grade level, I just don't know if we're teaching them grade level, why don't we just have them in a class grade level? It just seems like it would be easier.
I think there's two things, and that got me into trouble earlier with my previous statement about alarm bells. I think we're talking about two things. We're talking about math, and then we're talking about our model. So, right, I think we absolutely have some work to do with mathematics. That's an
Well, I
understatement.
think the model makes the math harder to teach.
Potentially. I mean, I think that's something, and that's,
Because if it was easy, we'd do it multi-age
I think we
way.
need to continue to look at this. I don't think it should be a rubber stamp every year that this is our configuration, and I've told Heather that as well. I think we need to continue to look at this. If the board feels strongly one way or another, I'd love to hear that feedback. I've heard, I think, from a couple of you, but if others feel
I mean,
one way or the other, I'd love to hear it.
I'd have to look at the data before the model. Like, where were the scores before the model?
Yeah, I think historical data is really important
I
to
mean,
look at.
if the model's not working, where's the proof? Or if it is working, where's the proof?
Yep.
That's the way.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Um,
So I can pull some historical SAS data. We obviously won't have this year, but I can pull some for the past 5, 6, 7 years, and see what that shows. That sounds like that's what I'm hearing. That'd be more beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, I was very encouraged by the language arts and the reading data.
Yeah.
I mean, that looks really good. So all the training that everybody did with letters, and that clearly is paying off. That was not a concern of mine at all. But as the math and science teacher, looking at the math data, it just really makes me nervous and sad for the kids that are struggling with this concept. And whether it's the multi-age that is impacting that or not, it's hard to suss all that stuff out.
Exactly.
But knowing that we're teaching things by grade level just seems hard to justify having the multi-age aspect. But if it is working and it's giving us the results that we need, obviously we would want to keep it.
So, more data.
You got it. I'll pull some essays
Drawn
down.
out, backed up for the years.
Yeah, I'll pull a different assessment. I'll pull our SAS assessment, which would only students K through 2 don't take it. Deb knows that, but it would be our third graders and on. So
We have to be careful with COVID too. Like, I feel like if we are going to pull more data, we want to do it before COVID, because pulling data right as the kids came back from COVID is not going to do us justice.
yeah, I think that's an important consideration. I think that is an important piece to know. I can include it and just make a notation that this was a COVID year. 1 year we didn't take it.
Let's go back 100 years.
Great, thank you.
And make them fit on one page.
Then you'd be doing, what was it, kneecap?
Yes.
Yes.
I remember the kneecaps.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Just, is the goal to have a teacher per grade? Is that in the ideal scenario? So they're always teaching one grade level?
I don't know that would work for Madison.
Well, I'm gonna say with declining enrollment, I feel like we need to figure out a way to embrace the multi-grade classroom. Freedom does it out of necessity, and I think Madison is heading that way. I look at the numbers side of things, and I also don't want to see Mike spending his last 2 months when I need him to do stuff with me, digging up lots of data to support what? I guess I'm trying to figure out what is the goal for this. And I'm being very honest. Like, there's-
I'd rather.
I think for me, it's looking at different, what are we gonna do differently? And
What changes are we going to make to get a better
to me, I don't really need more data. This was enough for me to just, there's a house on fire.
Well, I
in
would
the
say
math. And I would think
SMU9's
like,
math data was 31% or 32%. Ours was 29. So I mean,
again,
ours
I'm
is
not
not
comparing.
good.
I'm not comparing
But
to other districts.
Nobody else is.
Nope.
Nobody else's is.
But are we here to make that change, so that our kids can be the best that they can be, and not just say, well, the SAU is this, so we're a couple Like our
No, I'm
job
saying,
is to
like, when
educate
we're
our
looking at
kids.
numbers, and I agree we should get to why are they that low. And I have heard other discussions that it's a very language-based exam. It's not the straightforward numbers that you would expect in a math exam, where that assessment data is pulled from that goes on the
I'd like
warrant.
to see these. It's one thing we've never seen at this. I mean, you've probably seen it, but I've never seen like what it actually looks like.
I know how being like grandkids
Yeah.
look at math. I can't stand the new math, but
But I think finding a way to get to a, what are we going to do to get to a better place?
Right, and I come from a standpoint of early intervention. It gives you the most bang for your buck. So if I were going to be looking at how do we fix this problem, it's to concentrate our energy in the lower grades. And in my opinion, having K-2 in one class is not concentrating your resources in one area. I would love to see straight grades up through third grade, because that's where you're really doing the bulk of your foundational skills. And then 4, 5, 6 combine. I was a student at Conway L in a 4, 5, 6 class. So that's just a different kind of, you're not getting rid of multi-age, but you're trying to give those lower grades the smaller class sizes, the teacher that they're with, the teacher can specialize in that grade level. So those are the conversations that I think I'm looking to have to see, like, what are we as a district gonna do differently to really address, like you did the language arts this year. It's good to hear that your focus is gonna be math, but what is that gonna look like?
Sure.
And how long before we see results from that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when you wait a couple of years to change something, you've got a whole couple cohorts of students that have
Right.
moved on and you've missed. So it's a house on fire type of thing, in my opinion.
Other data-related questions for Mike? Anything else for Mike? Mike, you got anything else for us?
I don't think so.
Sure.
I'm gonna, before I get any more
He's
homework,
sorry.
I've got a whole host of things I need to do now. Happy to do it,
No,
happy to do
when
it.
when I said like historical data, I wasn't looking for you to do it.
It's fine, I got it.
I'm looking for like, if you say, no kidding, this ain't working, then research it yourself and find out. That's what I'm looking at.
I guess
I would do that.
Yeah, I guess my closing thought with this as we move on is we will be focusing on mathematics next year through a concerted effort across SAU 13, which has been really valuable for our educators, and really pleased with the conversation that's gone on. And I have no doubt we'll see that for math as well. I love the idea about having someone from illustrative come in. I don't want to see a program. I don't want us to give up on a program yet, but without giving it its full support. I think that's really important. And us continue to monitor the data and have conversations just like tonight. This is really important conversation for the board to have, and I can't emphasize that enough. We talk a lot about budget, we talk a lot about policy, we talk about a lot of things, but the heartbeat of our school is academics, and we need to keep that in the forefront. So continuing to have that brought to you and us have conversations, no matter where we sit on it. I think that's really important for us to do and do it often.
I agree, and I don't think that any of us should be going out doing our own research to prove or disprove anything. I think we need to continue doing exactly what you said, is bringing this forward and talking about the academics, and that's what we're doing right now.
Love it.
Yeah, I think this has been a really good, healthy conversation, and I think the more we're open and we're willing to reflect, it just means we're gonna do better for the
Absolutely.
students and staff that are here.
Good. All right, other questions, anything else for Mike? All right, moving on to new business. First reading of policy school board meeting, special school board meetings, special board meetings. Sherry had brought this up, basically making sure that it was more to like, to send, make sure that the staff is informed
Yes, this one I wanted to bring forward because if we have to call a special board meeting and it's the last day of school, and nobody's checking
Email.
well, no, nobody's
Nobody's checking the
window.
poster on the wall.
Yeah, or the school website. I would like a notification to go out to all the teachers, letting them know, like, there's a special board meeting that's happening, so they have the opportunity to come if they want to. So that's why I wanted to bring it forward.
Is there a place in here, Mike, to add, maybe not just specifying teachers, but specifying at least the
Staff.
Well, I'd say but the public's, yeah, but as well as the I guess public carries everybody. I was thinking if we use whatever system we're using for notifications.
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
The notification system.
The community won't get that because you have to opt into that, and I'm sure that our community does not want to know every day there's a snow day without having kids in the school.
I'm sure
Hear my lovely voice at 5:30 in the morning.
I'm sure the wonderful world of Facebook would
Yeah.
be happy to do that and create a lot of controversy around it. So yes, that would be a good place to go.
So no, specifically for the teachers or
Yep.
the staff in the building.
Yep. No, I think if we use the
So that goes to them.
We have the all-call system will go to staff depending on what boxes they choose for communication. Some will get email, text, phone calls.
Okay.
Some will get just a text. Some will
but
get.
they will get some type of notification based on how they
That's
opt
correct.
to receive
That's correct.
notifications.
Yeah.
So is there somewhere in here that would be best suited to place? Is I guess my question. Or maybe I'll do this rather than we place it. Mike, why don't you bring this back next month as a first read with something in here to that effect?
There's a typo in there.
Does that make sense, Sherry?
Yeah.
We're-
Got an extra N. Just a random one.
Thank you. Got it. I'd probably put it somewhere in between the first and second paragraph, to be honest with you, and just say, I just want to make sure I'm getting the sentiment that you're looking for, that you'd like in an event that a special board meeting is called, all Madison Elementary staff will be notified.
Yes.
Is that good?
And that will come from the superintendent's office.
Yes. Or we could put Mike Whalen's office. Make sure that you're doing it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it says already in here, chairperson or superintendent.
Oh, it's chairperson? Perfect.
Yeah, nope. Chairperson does not have access to said system. Now, I could run through the building and talk to each of them, but, yes, it will get out there. That's what we need to do.
All right, I'll bring that back unless you want to do a first read with the language I just read now, and I'll bring a second read for the next meeting. It's up to you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I added the language, in the event of a special board meeting, Madison Elementary staff will be notified via their communication preference listed in Alma.
Okay, so we'll take a motion as a first read, Sherry.
Yeah.
Second, Ed, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Carries. All right. Yeah, we already did that, yeah. That's okay. The next was student recognition. Ed already talked about that earlier on. Medicaid for schools.
That could be me.
Yes.
Maybe. No, I brought this up before. It's something that we were watching. 24-25, our total Medicaid revenues were $401.07. This year to date, $152.63. We did recently, kind of sprung on the business office, but in February, while I was working on compliance audit for Freedom, the Medicaid audit came through, and that took no less. This is probably a substantial underestimate of 40 hours of the business office to pull together the items the audit required. They all get uploaded through an online portal. got the results of that audit last week. They were not stellar. It was an audit period that predated everybody in the business office except payroll, who has nothing to do with Medicaid. So there is an exposure and at risk for them to pull back some funds for Madison. It's something less than $300. But I say all this, I'm building
So they're
up to
gonna
a
take
point.
that back from us.
Potentially, if we don't give them the records, we can't give them any more. Like, we can't, there's no stones left to turn over to find what they're asking for.
That's been a constant conversation. I mean, the amount of work that staff goes into for recording this, talk about diminished returns. I mean, we get nothing.
So next year, starting 7/1, New Hampshire's Medicaid to Schools is heavily pushing a new provider who we are not mandated to use as our biller. We currently use MSB, but if we don't use them to do our billing, there is now a double entry component to get our Medicaid money.
how much
all
money?
$152.63 of it.
I would happily take a motion to cancel Medicaid billing for Madison.
I'll move it.
Motion by Deb, can I get a second to that? Second by Ed.
I don't know what time this frees up, but I'm sure it can be much better spent within this school than trying to enter sessions for kids that may not even be on Medicaid.
Yeah, we'd rather have them working through it. 10, 15 years ago, was it worth it to do this work? Absolutely. Now, because of the change legislation and the hoops that you have to jump through and paying other providers to do this work, it's not worth our educators' time. I'd rather have them be working.
And I will say one of the audit findings is that on, I think, almost every child that they pulled for the audit, they only pulled 4, and we were not in compliance on all 4 of them in some area. One of the things they flagged is that New Hampshire is the only state that still has the 30-day review requirement, and we did not have the 30-day review documented for all of the claims that they pulled.
Okay.
A lot of districts aren't doing it anymore for those reasons.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Or any other discussion?
So is that just that form that you would give at the beginning of the school year? Like if the child had Medicaid, they would fill?
No, this is, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, every time a child is serviced with special
Related
ed,
services,
related
yeah.
services, paraprofessional, things like that, they have to log every 20 minutes or whatever
if
it
they're Medicaid
is.
eligible.
Speech and OT are the 2 big ones here.
Got it.
You have to get a doctor's order for it, so that gets faxed out. It's faxed in. We were missing some of those. I mean, we were auditing 22, 23, I think.
Okay, I understand now.
Yeah, so in the orders are only good for so long. So if the OT or the speech services go the whole year, then you have to reach back out to the doctor's office. It's a lot, and if we were getting the same money that we used to, which
It would hold its own
wasn't really
value.
that much. I want to say 12,000. Maybe
a
I
lot
feel
more
like
than
that was maybe
500.
break even. Now that I see what goes into this, I just don't.
Because you also, don't you have to, like, if you have your OT quota, don't you have to have, like, somebody overseeing
Yes.
them?
That's right.
So they
Yes.
have to, it's just a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So any other questions?
Do you want to restate the motion for?
So Jeremy, we have a motion on the floor to stop doing Medicaid billing because we have not received. We've
Because
received
we got
pennies on the return.
$152.63 this
It
year.
will not be estimated in revenue
40
next
hours on
year.
an audit that costs us $1,000.
And that doesn't include the staff time every day
Yeah.
of the week. So I have a motion and I have a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Carries. Library media position, citizens request. So, and I just put this on because last month, Adam Price came and asked us to reconsider. So I just wanted to put it on here because it was requested during public comment. I know we had some discussion about this during the budget season. I know the town came out and the town voted, and I generally go with where the town votes and based on the intent of the voter. I know you can't go talk to every voter, but I think changing this at this point would kind of go against the will of what I see the voter as saying. But that's just my take on it. Any other thoughts or concerns or motions?
No, I mean, it was voted on at the budget, whatever the deliberative session, it was voted the way it was, so.
Yep.
To me, that's the will of the voters, because people showed up and voted the way they wanted to on it.
Okay. All right. Then we're gonna keep moving on, but I wanted to make sure I put that on there to cover that. General assurances.
Do these every year. Have to do them every year. This is the one where the chairman initials every page, signs the last page. Superintendent initials every page, signs the second to last page. It's just that the district's representative, is attesting or assuring that we follow all of the grant guidelines. And in all the great ones, like the Hatch Act and the not texting while driving one and the scenic rivers and byways.
Am I covered under that? Because then we've already lied.
Only while you're doing school business. If you're personally, you can text and drive, I suppose.
Oh, I was talking to Sharon on the phone, texting at the same time,
Yeah,
driving down the road.
Hands free.
I won't read them all. They're
listening? They are doing those stop points, aren't they?
I have to say the state of New Hampshire has changed a lot in the 3 years I've been working here as far as grants go. So they have a lot more guardrails and bumpers in place to keep us on the straight and narrow. So I do know that Jen and Allison are tenacious, and we do try very hard to keep us compliant with everything that's in here. So I have no problem recommending that these get all 30 pages.
I'll take a
initialed and
motion
signed.
to approve the general assurance being signed by the superintendent and the chair. Motion by Ed, second by Deb. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? Carries.
Do you have an auto pen?
No. Building use.
That's me.
Yes.
So, I'm here to confess that at the last the selectmen's meeting that was in the gym, I forget what date that was. There was a question of the cooler being unplugged with the milk. That was me. I unplugged it, and then I plugged it back in. I really thought that it would. I made sure it was less than an hour. But having said that, I take responsibility, and so I would like to personally write a check. I brought my checkbook for the amount of milk that was needing to be disposed of and make it right. So I will take full responsibility for it, and we can all move on.
I don't think you have to write a check, but I think it actually goes with building use to the same extent of saying that if someone is using the building, that's an old cooler, so it doesn't hold its weight anymore. But I think if there's a problem with the cooler and the noise, maybe we should just have it asked to be moved prior to.
That was the only other thing I was going to bring up was the fact that, I maybe didn't plug it back in the same outlet, and that's how. But what if I had? Would anybody have really known that I had unplugged it to begin with?
Yeah, but we're in a default budget. Write the check.
I'm so willing to write the check.
I don't know. I think our fund balance will cover it.
Oh, yeah, that's true. But on a serious note, it's a safety issue. It's a health issue for the kids that we're serving. So, it made me think of things more than I would have normally thought about milk. But if there's the buildings being used, and specifically the gym, would it be appropriate for us to make sure that the milk cooler is locked up in the kitchen?
Does it fit through that door?
No.
Can I just talk for a moment? Yes.
Okay.
But let me tell you, since we got that beautiful, it is a beautiful, I'm not complaining about it, floor.
Everything
I don't care
server.
if that milk cooler is loaded or unloaded, it is hard to push across there. So that's just all I'm gonna say about that.
We did talk about maybe finding a box that could go over the electrical there to lock it, so that way it couldn't be unplugged, and also marking it, and we can put it on the facility use form as well, because we had that same conversation
Right,
that
that's
she
what I'm
knew because it was a different outlet. How many
Yeah.
other times has that happened?
Like-
It is that risk of, you know.
And it does lock, right?
It's always locked.
The cooler is
If-
locked itself,
if
so
I
nobody
am
can
not
get
in
at
that
the
area,
at the
that
milk.
cooler is locked because that is a safety issue for our students. So that milk cooler is always locked unless I'm not there.
Yeah. So my only thing was like, is there a different procedure we could go to make sure we shored up?
Well, I think that's.
And I will pay for the milk. That was because I feel bad that this became a big deal.
You don't need. I've taught. Deb came clean to me. She said,
I
"Mike,
did.
I'm the milk bandit." I said,
know.
"You've been absolved, Deb. You're fine. You don't need to."
Oh,
But
so you're right. in the check.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can I
Check
just
is
make,
written.
make a statement that
You're writing the check?
I did not personally make that decision to throw that milk out. I consulted
Yeah.
my food
Oh
safety
no,
coach.
I
Of course, it was the right thing to do.
totally. You got to do what's safe and what's right and what's healthy for the kids. I have no qualms with that. I just feel like it's my responsibility
Yeah.
to take on whatever had to happen. So,
But it did
I'm
bring
willing
to
to do
light
that.
something that we need to look at.
Right, as a
Right, because we wouldn't have been aware
potential
until how many
policy. I mean,
times.
I know I've been at meetings before and said, "Can I?" Because you can't hear.
I know I was even thinking like, should I just push it out in the hallway and plug it in out there? Like, but then I figured I'd make more noise doing that. So,
Yeah.
it was just a conundrum. It was
So-
raining. That was loud on the roof. There was a
Well,
whole
it was
lot-
it
no
was an
a sound
impromptu.
system
It was
in
an
there.
impromptu
No sound.
meeting there versus somewhere else, so
Yeah.
there was no sound system.
It was like a perfect storm, but at the same time, I think it gave us the opportunity to kind of think of, oh yeah, this is something we could probably clean up.
It's a building's use form.
So I apologize yet again.
Not
I'm
a-
so sorry.
Not a problem. I think it was corrected. I think we went a little while without some milk, lost us a little bit. I mean,
One day,
one day.
just
Poor
one day's
kids.
worth of milk was in there.
They're gonna make it.
Milk makes the bones grow strong. How are they gonna weaken up?
Does the body good.
Okay,
This
but
is
don't downplay because she is very passionate
I'm not.
about that.
I'm not
And-
downplaying
and it
at
really
all.
hurt her to not be able to serve milk.
I
so, like,
understand 100% the value in what we have.
Well, it's got to be part of the lunch too.
Right.
It's
Has
not
to
a
be part of
requirement.
the lunch, so that means that day, the kids didn't have the choice of taking the fruit or the vegetable. They had to take 3 items off
Yeah.
the
Versus-
off the line because I didn't have milk to offer them, but they still had to have a reimbursable plate.
Right.
So they had to make sure they had at least 3 components, and one of them was not milk.
Yeah.
So it was all off the line. It worked out,
Right.
but
School lunch
you know,
is a crazy thing that requires certain things to be placed on that plate, whether they want it or not,
Right.
to some extent.
Lessons learned, and we'll
Yeah.
have a plan moving forward.
Thank you.
Put a new cooler on the CIP that doesn't make as much noise.
From the budget committee, what?
Never got out of a
Well,
default
I didn't say
budget.
buy it tomorrow.
We do have a bond balance.
We do have a fund balance.
That thing is
Public
pretty old.
hearing on the cooler.
You can get it with some pneumatic tires. It rolls nice.
There you go. Nice. You got the numbers in there too with pneumatic, right? All right. Policies, second reading. BEDG. What did I miss?
You want
The G and
Oh, budget committee. Sorry, I knew I wrote that down. I am happy to jump onto the budget committee. Sherry looks like she's wanting to run there. If the board's fine with it, I will take the budget committee and you want it?
No.
Okay, just checking.
I was just questioning you.
That's okay.
Somebody's gotta do it.
I will be the namesake
is that
and
state
say
statute?
it's
Town
statute. Yeah.
the town when the town created the budget committee. It's on the web. It's on the town's website. It said that there will be a member of the school board and a member of the select board, who neither can be the chair of the committee
But can vote.
but can vote. So
But can they vote on the
yes.
school board stuff?
Based
Like we-
based on the
'Cause
and based in the past, that's how it was done.
I asked that same question because it seemed odd to me, but it's
Because we
you can,
vote
yeah.
here on,
Right.
Right.
on it, so it just seems
So he could change his vote.
I'm happy to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, but it's
They can, generally in discussion, when we come to that point, the school board member opts not
Hmm.
to vote, so that their vote is not double counted,
Makes
so
sense.
to speak.
yeah. Because I mean, you're voting. You're a representative of the whole body, but
Right.
you're voting
As you.
yourself. So that just seems weird
Correct.
to me.
So they generally don't.
So maybe it should
But
be
it's a
rule
committee, not a
change.
board, right?
Correct. It is a budget committee, not a budget board. It is not a
It's an
municipal,
advisory budget.
it's an advisory budget committee. Yes, so, all right. Add me to that list. Meetings start in November. Done.
I'll send you the dates.
Okay. All right. BEDG,
That G
second
and that.
reading, meeting minutes.
And EHAG.
And EHAG. I will accept them both as a second reading. Motion to accept. Motion by Ed, second by Jeremy.
I have a question on
Yep.
it. So on page 67,
Yep, which is BEDG.
under number 2,
Yes.
you see how it says on board policy with the,
Double asterisk.
yeah, what does that mean? Is that actually how the other policy is listed, or is there supposed
No,
to be two
that's,
letters there?
that gives you the option if you have other policies to put your.
To list those there.
EH is mandatory, it's by statute, but you could have other local policies that could go in that bracket.
Okay,
So that is a placeholder bracket.
Yes, yeah.
so right now, because it's listed as that, we don't have another.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Others? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed or abstaining? Carries. New Hampshire School Board Association Board Member Training, that's happening at the
Next school
joint board meeting?
Oh, sorry, yes, this is the joint board meeting, in, on the 22nd of June.
Yes. That will be in the gym here. Let's go. Strategic plan.
Barrett and his team are coming to the next school board meeting.
To talk to us about doing a strategic, working towards a strategic plan, telling us what the cost would look like.
And an
giving
overview.
us an overview.
So that's June 1st.
I love street.
Yes, June 1st.
Yeah.
And Staff Appreciation Week is happening, started today. What do we got going on? Good things?
Lots of
business.
appreciation.
It's under board, what's that?
A lot of appreciation, right?
Yes.
So we have parents and students, surprise, have written some notes for staff for encouragement. We have a staff raffle happening. There's some people doing breakfast tomorrow morning for staff. We have some other treats that have been sent in. We're trying to cover recess and lunch duties for staff. Maybe missing, we're gonna have a special assembly to recognize our staff and just have the staff participate in some fun games because, you know, why not? They get to.
Are there prizes?
Not at the assembly. The prize is to show kids their great fun attitude.
Always up for a good prize.
But they get raffle tickets every day for their staff raffle, but then they can play a game. You'll notice the basketball hoop in the front there in the lobby, so they can play a
Wait,
game if they want to
you
earn
can't play
some
ball in the
extra
house?
tickets. It's not a football, it's just
Okay.
basketball.
All right.
Did the health insurance thing get, like, done?
Yeah.
Good?
We're on the up and up,
Alright,
yes.
cool.
So it's a week filled with just letting them know that we appreciate all that they do. They get some little gifts and hopefully their spirits are a little bit lifted as we look forward to the last 6 weeks.
Perfect. Good, thank you. Anything else?
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ed, Jeremy.
Ed and Jeremy.